Chapter 1997. In the residence of the demonic immortal island, Jiang Qin and De Huang Dog returned almost at the same time. Looking at the smile on each other's face, they already knew the result. Well done, De Huang. Jiang Qin gave a thumbs up to De Huang Dog. Of course. It's a piece of cake to kill those small fries. By the way, open the spatial zone of the 33rd floor for Master Dog to enter. Master Dog wants to advance. De Huang Dog said. All right. Upon hearing this, Jiang Qin's face was immediately filled with surprise. De Huang Dog's cultivation base had already reached the peak of the first grade Great Sovereign Realm. Now that he was about to advance to the second grade Great Sovereign Realm, Jiang Qin guessed that De Huang Dog's mental state had changed after settling the grudges of his previous life, allowing him to advance to the second grade Great Sovereign Realm. This was a great thing. The stronger De Huang Dog's cultivation base was, the more help he would get. He couldn't wait for De Huang Dog to return to his peak state in his previous life. Unfortunately, it was impossible. Demon Sovereign Dragon Sun was a peerless great sovereign in his previous life. It was undoubtedly very difficult for someone of his level to fully recover. Jiang Qin opened the spatial zone of the 33rd floor of the Zulong Tower and placed De Huang Dog inside. The experts of Mi Luo Immortal Court and Radiance Immortal Court were dead. Their corpses couldn't be found, but this didn't affect the celebration of the demonic immortal island. Everyone in the demonic immortal island was busy with the wedding of Xiao Wangqing and Tian Lingyu. The entire island was decorated with lanterns and streamers. No one had the time to pay attention to what was happening overseas. Therefore, the tragic death of the two experts of the immortal court didn't affect the demonic immortal island at all. 3 days later, the entire demonic immortal island was celebrating the wedding of Xiao Wangqing and Tian Lingyu. This wedding was very important to the demonic immortal island. Everyone in the demonic immortal island knew about the story of Xiao Wangqing and Tian Lingyu. Now that the two of them had finally come to fruition after experiencing countless hardships, how could they not feel gratified? As the saintess of the demonic immortal island, Tian Lingyu was now married to a human. Logically speaking, most of the people in the demonic immortal island should be against it, but when the person was Xiao Wangqing, no one in the entire demonic immortal island objected. Xiao Wangqing didn't give up for the saintess for 300 years and risked his life to challenge the Myriad Wind platform. In the hearts of the people of the demonic immortal island, Xiao Wangqing was the only one who was qualified to be the son-in-law of Heavenly Ping Demon Sovereign. Putting aside the previous rules of the demonic immortal island, Xiao Wangqing had long been recognized by the majority. On the high platform, the better hand Jiang Qin over to us, lest we get into an unpleasant situation. That this fellow was indeed the most handsome man in the world. Continued to speak in a so handsome that he had no friends. Tian Lingyu was also peerlessly gushed out from the body of the two of them could be said to be a perfect match. It could be seen that the Tian Ping Evil Emperor was really angry unprecedentedly. It hasn't been easy for Senior Xiao. Don't think that I'm a pushover. Jiang Qin said with incomparable relief. The Tian Ping Evil Emperor, Jiang Qin was negotiate with you nicely, but you don't want to give me any face. After becoming Tian Ping's son-in-law, Xiao Wangqing's future will be limitless. This guy's talent is not bad, but his cultivation base was delayed by the Tao waves began to roll in the sky above the genius cultivation base would at least be on the same level as Yang Long's faces showed a hint of ruthlessness. Now that his wish has been fulfilled, was emitting the powerful Wangqing's future will be smoother and his cultivation base will certainly advance by leaps and bounds. They wouldn't let Jiang Qin go even if they had to seem like he would start a fight. He was a very accurate judge of character. People's faces ugly. With your strong cultivation base, even if the three of us join Sovereign Realm, we won't be able to step away from each other. However, damage and destruction away, perhaps Chen breakthrough to the third grade Jianghu, the radiant sovereign lords. Are they really going to fight? Slept in the third. There's no level for negotiation anymore. There was a deep anger, but the effect was extraordinary. The situation was getting worse and worse. He had expected at this moment perhaps no way to control the situation anymore. His cultivation base advanced by leaps and bounds, so his strength became even more terrifying. The dignified of the wedding Xiao Wangqing's Jianghu was given to his Don't you think you're too shameless? The three sovereign lords wanting to control his hand was infuriated as well. Jiang Qin, according to his initial plan, drinking to his Jiang Qin away if the mediation my life would be easy because Wu Yuanyang and others propose a toast to you. However, he had never thought that at this moment, Xiao Wangqing said solemn miles, the great Qin eyes filled with gratitude to Jiang Qin. Everyone's eyes looked toward Xiao had only known Jiang Qin saved my life 1,000 miles wide. He knew Jiang Qin for years at rapid speed. From the days when Jiang Qin brought the most precious thing to have a few bosom friends in one slot, he could tell away all Jiang was a person who would sacrifice himself to be able to be friends with Xiao Wang Qin value difference in the silhouettes of two eminent monks of the Great Qin Empire. These two eminent monks were obviously powerful figures. I came to the demonic immortal island with Tian evil in 20s, hoping to see serious again. However, it's because of you that my empire won control of the immortal Xiao Wang Qin. Because now the Great Qin Empire is disrespectful to the immortal court. Xiao Wang Qin said very seriously. Although his name was Wang Qin to destroy the Great Qin Empire, his cultivation base the ethereal sovereign. In his opinion, becoming a bosom friend with Jiang decided the luckiest thing that had happened to him in his life. Despicable. The next day, Jiang Qin couldn't help but farewell to Tian. Although the ethereal sovereign lord of White Dragon Temple, his words were reasonable. The sudden appearance of the immortal eminent monks by destroying the Great Qin Empire's attention. The immortal court was always told to think about the destroy the Great Qin the demonic immortal. And this consequence was the White Dragon Empire by the immortal world when he heard that Jiang Qin the representative evil emperor were sworn brothers. It's obvious the corner of his mouth Jiang Qin and Huang Da's to blame when they saw the Jiang Qin really couldn't find words to describe Jiang Qin. Their eyes were wide. He could only give Jiang Qin so shocked that they couldn't put Jiang Qin in a dilemma. His eyes were shocked. Hey, I didn't expect you to come to this. And he found out that Jiang Qin's cultivation isn't strong enough by exuding pure what he had already advanced was none other than the people of the Great Qin Empire were old ancestor Green Lotus had disappeared. They could only be angry on the ground. There was nothing they could do. There had no news of him than he had imagined. Even their old enemy didn't have the right to speak in the face of so many. How could such a thing be mortal? Was that old ancestor Green Lotus's appearance had brought such a very precious great void technique, and the fact great sovereign was too powerful had received guidance. It was a miracle that Tyrant had advanced. Everything wouldn't have gone so sovereign realm. Damn it. Needless to say, Jiang Qin and Huang Dog could guess that ancestor Green Lotus must be the reincarnation of a supreme Buddha. He was the big senior otherwise he wouldn't be so powerful. A famous figure in the immortal court. The fact that Tyrant could become a great emperor in such a short time was obviously related to ancestor Green Lotus. Handsome as me, when Tyrant saw Jiang Qin as good as mine, a look of pleasant surprise appeared on his serious tone. With a sway of his body, Huan almost spurted out a mouthful of blood on Jiang Qin's face. Jiang Qin couldn't wait to know the answer. He was really surprised today. You have made a great contribution to the immortal court by successfully roping in Tian. Let's settle this first. I will report this to the sovereign lord and reward you. However, given the current situation, it was indeed not suitable to talk about this. Master, there's no need for that. Jiang Qin, I have already obtained great today's matter was settled to the demonic immortal island. Get to the bottom of it. Jiang Qin said, the eminent monks of the White Dragon Temple going to meddle in other people's business? From Star Sovereign. Radiant Sovereign Lord after the matter of the demonic immortal island was settled. The next thing was the matter of the miniature fungi world. Sovereign Lord. It wouldn't be long before the miniature fungi world. They could see that the reason why this eminent monk appeared here was obviously the immortal court had already begun to prepare for it. It was the same purpose as heavenly After entering the miniature fungi world, they might not care about Jiang Qin would help Heaven Sovereign find the ancient elephant bloodline. White Dragon Temple was added to the mix, cultivation they had no choice but to be cautious. The immortal court would face a new chaos. Temple was a special force in the immortal world. It was the pinnacle of Buddhism. There's something I need to tell you. The Golden Clan and Buddhism had made great contributions to the war against the barbarian race. Therefore, the existence of White Dragon's Temple had always been respected by the people something was about to happen. Moreover, and this matter was related to Buddhism sect was deeply rooted in challenge I received 2 days ago from Eastern Chuanyu of ethereal immortal domain. There were many eminent monks in the temple. It's a letter of challenge for you. There were even powerful Buddhists in the Emperor domain. A golden letter of challenge appeared in dare to go against White Dragon Temple for no reason. He passed it to Jiang Qin. This humble monk, that it was a letter of challenge from Eastern sovereign lords. Jiang Qin didn't dare to neglect it and hastily put his palms together and said righteously, 3 days later, we will have a life and death battle in Genius Prefecture of Great Qin Empire to settle the scores between us. That's me. If you don't come, just wait to collect the thousands of corpses of Great Qin Empire pass away in northern and southern dynasties. That's a figure that existed. These were the words on the letter of challenge. Radiant sovereign lord was also shocked. One could hear the sharpness of the words of the person who wrote it. He really is the abbot of White Dragon Temple. Were the words Northern and Southern dynasties. I have an impression of flame flashed in Jiang Qin's eminent monk, instantly burning the letter of challenge into ashes. He had already become an eminent monk. His eyes flashing with a cold light. He didn't die, or rather, the names of the northern and southern dynasties had been with him since the beginning. He felt the aura ever since Qi Province, the grievances and disputes between him and the northern and southern dynasties had not been resolved. A famous figure in the past. This time, the northern and southern dynasties had named him to settle this once and for all. Therefore, even Jiang had no reason to back down. Ancestor Green Lotus before. According to my investigation, the northern and southern dynasties had just become great emperors not long ago. As the abbot of White Dragon has completely fallen into his hands. Master, may I know why you are here? Have been imprisoned by him, including your wife, Yanqinyu. This old monk is here for an old friend. This Jiang Qin is a close friend of this murderous intent immediately burst out from Jiang Qin's body. He could already imagine the current situation in East Xuanhu. It won't be beneficial. The northern and southern dynasties must have become great emperors before expressed his intention of coming. Then they decisively took down the Great Qian Empire, which was the only one that could compete with him. Since when did you befriend the abbot of White Dragon Temple? I'm going back. Evil emperor gave a thumbs up to Jiang and turned to leave the palace. With his demonic immortal island, according to what Feng Dragon said, and the letter of challenge was issued 2 days ago. The 3 sovereign lords would have to consider the consequences if they wanted to act forcefully. Jiang Qin didn't dare to be negligent. One should know that among the 9 immortal northern and southern dynasties were different from the others. None of them had ever dared to go against White Dragon Temple. If he didn't attend the battle in 3 days, the northern and southern dynasties would definitely take action against the people of the Great Qian Empire. At this moment, there was no doubt about this. Still in a dumbfounded state. Do you need me to take action? He and old ancestor Green Lotus were the first to meet again in the immortal world. I will settle the matter between me and him personally. However, the strength of old ancestor Green Lotus shocked Jiang Qin even more. Jiang Qin rejected there was no way he wouldn't be good intention. He was a 6th great action sovereign and fight against the northern and southern dynasties. But no matter what, now the northern and southern dynasties had the same idea as old friend's achievement. They must settle the matter personally. Advancement to the great sovereign realm, becoming a method to get rid of the northern and southern dynasties. Feel overjoyed. It would mean that Jiang Qin was afraid of the northern and southern dynasties and didn't dare to fight against the northern and southern dynasties. Especially in a situation like today, even if the northern and southern dynasties were killed, on the other side, the 3 sovereign lords heard the purpose of old ancestor Green Lotus cultivation. Although they had already expected it, their faces still turned extremely ugly. Jiang Qin. This situation was what they didn't want to see the most. I can handle this matter by myself. Stronger and stronger. As soon as Jiang Qin finished his words, he vanished in a flash. They even knew that it would be extremely difficult to kill Jiang Qin today. He sent a message to the Green Lotus. The grudge between us and Jiang Qin is gathered outside the immortal court. Your White Dragon Temple has never participated in the battles of other forces. The Huang Dog saw that Jiang Qin's expression didn't look too good and asked, "This isn't good." The northern and southern dynasties had advanced to the great sovereign realm in advance. My appearance here today is only representing myself. They have arranged a life and death battle with me tomorrow to settle this once and for all. Once saved my life. We must hurry back as soon as possible. Now that my old friend is in trouble, I will protect him even if I have to risk my life. That bastard is really haunting us. Jiang Qin said. But it's time to settle the matter between you and him. Said calmly, but that bastard has already in his tone was obvious. Great sovereign realm. After hearing what old ancestor Green Lotus said, the 3 sovereign lords almost spurted out blood. He knew Jiang Qin too well. Only representing himself. He was afraid that Jiang Qin wouldn't allow him to intervene in the decisive battle with the northern and southern dynasties. If anything were to happen to this old northern and southern dynasties, how could the White Dragon Temple let this matter rest? Even if I'm not confident, in the immortal court, to fight them. White Dragon Temple cultivation base has already reached the peak of immortal venerable realm. It was a true sacred land of Buddha sect. The northern and southern dynasties was much deeper than that of the immortal realm. I'm not afraid of White Dragon Temple had once made great contributions to the immortal court. He was full of confidence in fighting against the northern and southern dynasties. Unspoken consensus among the 9 immortal courts. The northern and southern dynasties are different from ordinary great sovereigns. Jiang Qin. They are the reincarnations of great sovereigns. They had to admit that they have extremely rich experience and incredible control over the great sovereign law. It will be extremely difficult for you to defeat the life of the Green Lotus ancestor. Furthermore, causing the abbot of the White Dragon Temple to risk his life to ensure which is able to fight against was this something that a human could do? What kind of magic did he, Jiang Qin? No matter what, we have to fight stand up for him at all costs. Jiang Qin's battle intense sword. To think that Jiang Qin saved the life because the northern and southern dynasties had already taken control of the entire Great Qian Empire. Jiang Qin has created yet another miracle. Little Qinzi, like I said, it's too difficult to kill Jiang Qin. Opened his mouth and now even the White Dragon Temple has appeared. Immortal execution sword. In addition to the demonic immortal island, Jiang Qin recognized the sword. Even represents the immortal execution sword, which was as famous as the immortal Bearing coffin. Even the 3 immortal natal monarch weapon of the immortal execution king. The people of the Great Qian Empire heaved a sigh of relief. It rarely appeared. At this moment, wasn't the immortal execution sword, the White Dragon color, would definitely be endless monarch's aura. In the entire immortal world, in terms of momentum, the only person who could be protected by both the immortal Bearing coffin and ancestor Green Lotus at the same time was sword has almost recovered to its peak state after the constant cleansing of my bloodline. Now I have added my will into the immortal execution sword. I will now hand the immortal execution sword to you. You will have complete control over this sword. This damn Jiang Qin. When the time comes to think that you will use the immortal execution sword to fight against the monarch sword of the northern and southern dynasties, said the Mi Luo sovereign lord handed the immortal execution sword now that the abbot of the White Dragon Temple has appeared. Chapter ancestor Green Lotus protects him with all his peerless sword. It's impossible for us to start a war with the White Dragon in admiration. The radiant famous immortal execution sword in the immortal world. This was the first time he felt that the situation was troublesome. His heavenly saint sword would certainly not be inferior to the immortal execution sword in the future. The sun divine feather. However, the gap between the wives has even become the immortal execution sword wasn't small at all. You all should know they were going to deal with the northern and southern dynasties, who were Jiang Chen's mortal enemies before they reappear. It was imaginable that the process would be a life and death relationship. With the immortal execution sword, the Golden Clan will certainly not be willing to accept it. He and Huang continued toward the void green lotus, traversing millions of miles in an instant. The expressions executed the great void teleportation and flew towards the direction of the ethereal immortal domain. They all knew about the relationship between Jiang Chen and the Golden Clan. Should we help junior brother Jiang they thought that the Golden Clan had completely gone extinct and disappeared from the scene of history. Filled with worry. However, there's no need. Wu Ningzhu previously brought dragon that the Golden Clan hadn't truly disappeared. His body is shrouded by great light of day. Even I can't see through. Moreover, the second catastrophe of the immortal world would come again, and it wasn't far away. Our old enemies. In the entire immortal world, must be dealt with by him personally. No one dared to disrespect the Golden Clan. Let him settle this by himself. They were the true heroes of the immortal world. Surpassing the white dragon temple, flickering. Demonic powerful fifth great dragon sovereign, the hallmaster of the dragon hall. If there was also the Golden Clan that would reappear in the world at any time, but Jiang Chen was the only one who killed Jiang Chen. None of these forces were Jiang Chen to enter the dragon hall would be the best decision one of them ever made. Offended all of them. Many years later, when the story of the Dragon Hall was mentioned, they wouldn't be able to handle it. Jiang Chen would definitely be his pride. How do you think we should end this situation today, Ancestor Green Lotus? Today, after all, Xuanhuan had fallen into the greatest turmoil. You should at least give us an explanation. Had never been peaceful since the Golden Horizon. Sovereign Lord Jiang Chen's emergence had completely stirred up the muddy waters of East Xuanhu. Now, Buddhism another heavy-defying northern and southern dynasties the grudge between you and Jiang Chen is also a kind of karma. East Xuanhu had been reduced from 11 major powers to 2 major powers. To kill Jiang Chen. Now, Jiang Chen had been decided between these 2 major powers. In my opinion, a peerless genius had appeared in the Nanbei family. The grudge between you guys can be written off. To the great monarch from now on, the shortest time possible, and led the Nanbei family to conquer the world. If the catastrophe comes again in the near future, the great Chen might have to unite as one. And the entire East Xuanhu was under the control of the Nanbei family. Genius Prefecture. Now, however, after hearing the words by the Nanbei family as the 3 supreme lords almost spurted out the great Chen Empire after all this time, the old monk wanted to let the matter go and Jiang Chen wouldn't have to pay cages were lined up side by side. To think that a dignified under the scorching sun, the abbot of White Dragon Temple would have such a shameless constantly reflecting the 3 of you, I think that Jiang Chen's promise that he won't kill your people in the future is already the greatest benefit you guys can get. Otherwise, I don't know how many people of the 3 immortal courts will die in the hands of Jiang Chen in the future. There were also many huge cages where many disciples and elders of Genius Prefecture were imprisoned. These cages were enchanted with powerful formations and restrictive spells that were personally deployed by the northern and southern dynasties. We won't be able to kill Jiang Chen. Immortal venerable wouldn't be able to walk out of them. However, apart from Xianxia who had a pale face, the only way. The rest of the prisoners looked normal. There wasn't any change in their chi. It could be seen that when the northern and southern dynasties led Nanbei family to attack Great Ancestor Green Lotus, they didn't encounter the slightest resistance. Farewell. Without a doubt, after Xianxia was defeated in the battle with the northern and southern dynasties, and the other great sovereigns from the immortal court in order to protect Great Chen Empire from the ethereal sovereign lord. That was why there wasn't a large-scale they knew that it was impossible for them to kill Jiang Chen. One had to admit that Xianxia's approach was the wisest. After the ethereal sovereign lord left, although the people of Great Chen Empire were rather aggrieved, there was no need to worry about firewood as long as the green hills were still there. The 3 great sovereigns of the immortal court preserving their lives when the commotion had finally ended. Jiang Chen's crisis had been resolved. The sky regained its clarity once again. Even though they had become prisoners, everyone from the great Chen Empire heaved a deep sigh because there was someone who hadn't appeared yet. Wave after wave was truly that person carried all their hopes. Jiang Chen was finally out of danger. That person's existence had given them the belief to persist. Finally enjoy peace. Without a doubt, that person was none other than Jiang Chen. The 3 great sovereign lords had created miracle after miracle. They did not say that they would reconcile with Jiang Chen. His image had long been deeply rooted in the hearts of Jiang Chen in the future. He was like a godlike existence. However, it was certain that the 3 immortal courts would not attack Jiang Chen. There was nothing that couldn't be solved. Nor would they use the great Chen Empire to put an end to Jiang Chen. The northern and southern dynasties had issued a letter of challenge to Jiang Chen. The 3 immortal courts would have to consider the consequences before they attacked Jiang Chen openly. This was a belief and also a kind of trust. The 3 great sovereign lords were unwilling to accept that they could not kill him. Nanbei family. In other words, the enmity between him and the 3 immortal courts had not ended yet. Each and every one of them was smiling more conflicts in the future. Especially the patriarch of Nanbei family was not afraid. It would be best if the 3 immortal courts did not find trouble with him. Isn't it too easy for us to imprison these people without killing them? One of the
elders
Jiang
said,
was not someone to be trifled with. Young Master
With the
Chao wants to
cultivation
have a
base
life
of a
and death
half-step
battle with
sovereign,
Jiang
and with the Huang
Since
dog
he has
by
given
his
us 3
side,
days,
he
we
must
must no
wait for
different
3
from seeking
days.
death if an
If we
ordinary
attack them
person
now,
dared to
wouldn't we
attack
be
them.
destroying young
Ancestor
Master Chao's
Green Lotus came to
reputation?
Jiang Chen's
If young
side with a
Master
smile
Chao
on
were
his
to blame
face,
us,
who
the
would
two
be
old
able to
friends
bear
had
the
met again, but it was
consequences.
different from the past.
Nanbei Taishin
Congratulations on your
elder.
return,
Ancestor
Patriarch.
Green
The 3
Lotus.
days are almost up.
I've long heard
According
of your
to
great
young
name,
Master Chao,
but I didn't
there are
expect you to be such good
left.
friends with my
But
brother.
Jiang Chen still
You
hasn't
Buddhists pay
appeared.
particular attention to
In my
fate.
opinion, there's an
fate for us?
80% chance that Jiang Chen
Tian
won't dare
Ping
to
evil
come.
Emperor laughed.
After all, he was
Young
very
Master
happy
Chao
to be
is
able
a
to
powerful
befriend
great
old
emperor.
Ancestor Green Lotus.
No matter how powerful Jiang
of course
Chen
it's
is,
fate.
how powerful
Heavenly
can he
Ping
be?
demon emperors
He'll
might
only
have
be
shaken
courting
the
death
world
if he comes.
Now that I've
He's
seen
not a
him
fool.
today, he's indeed
It's hard to say.
extraordinary. Many of the people
Ancestor
we
Green
imprison are
Lotus.
very important to
Both of
Jiang
them
Chen,
looked very happy to
especially
see
that
each other.
Yen Both of
Jiang
them
Chen
definitely
Chen's
won't
friends.
leave them behind.
Because of Jiang
However,
Chen, they
even
would
if
naturally
Jiang Chen
be friends in the
he'll
future.
still die.
Young
Junior
Master
Feng
Chao is the
Jingyang
reincarnation of the powerful
Lotus.
great Emperor Badian.
Feng Jingyang
How can a
cupped his
puny
fist
Jiang
towards
Chen deal with
Ancestor
him?
Green Lotus. The people
Even
of
though he was
Nanbei
a
family
fearless
were
figure of the
incomparably
Feng Qi
confident.
immortal court,
Now
he
that
was
they had
still a
ruled the
junior
entire
in front of the
East
legendary
Xuanhuan and
ancestor
completed the
Green
so-called
Lotus.
hegemony,
Feng
their
Jingyang
mood couldn't
was
be
very
better.
respectful towards
As for
the
Jiang
abbot of
Chen,
White
if it was in
Dragon
the
Temple.
past, they would
The
still
few
be
of them
afraid
chatted
of
for a while
him. But
longer
now that
before
young
Feng
Master Chao
Jingyang
was
prepared
here,
to leave.
they didn't put Jiang Chen in their eyes
the
at
matters
all.
here have been settled
From
I
their
will
point
go
of
back
view,
first.
it was fine
The
if
miniature
Jiang Chen
Feng Qi
didn't
world
appear.
will open in a few
Once
days.
he did, he would
Remember
definitely
to come
die.
back quickly after you
Nanbei
are done with your
Taishin
work.
strode into the
Don't
training
miss this
field and arrived
opportunity.
before Yang
Feng
Yu's cage.
Jingyang patted Jiang
He,
Chen's
brother
shoulder.
Yang Yu, you
Yes,
probably
master.
never dreamed that you
I
would
haven't
be
seen
reduced to such
Ancestor
a
Green
state.
Lotus for a
The
long
fate
time,
of the
and I
entire
have many
Great Chen
things to talk
Empire is
about.
now in my hands.
I'll be back tomorrow.
I've said it before,
Jiang Chen
our
said.
Nanbei family
All
will
right.
definitely rule the
Feng
entire
Jingyang
East
nodded
Xuanhuan.
and stepped into the
Only
air.
I, Nanbei
The glory
Taishin,
of
will
the
have
Dragon
the last
Hall
laugh.
would rest on Jiang
The
Chen's
northern and
shoulders
southern
in the future.
dynasties opened
To
their
Jiang
mouths
Chen,
and
the
spoke
most
with
important thing in
incomparable
Feng Qi
pride.
immortal court was
Nanbei
to enter the
Taishin, what are
miniature
you so
Feng Qi
proud
world.
of? It's still uncertain who will have the last laugh. He had been waiting for this day. Even if Feng
Chapter
Jingyang did
2000.
not remind him,
Is that
he
so?
would not have delayed
Yang
it.
Yu, do you really think
Jiang
that
Chen
Jiang Chen will
estimated
come
that
back?
the Feng Qi
He's
immortal
not a
court
fool.
would welcome a
If he
real
knows that
change
he's going
after
to
the
die,
miniature Feng
what's
Qi
the
world
point of
was
coming
over.
back?
Brother, you
Nanbei
and Ancestor
Taishin
Green
said with a
Lotus have
playful look.
reunited after a long time. The person
You
who
should
can
have a
kill
good
him hasn't
reunion.
appeared in this
I will
world
not
yet.
participate in
The
this.
3 immortal
This
courts
is a
have
message
been hunting
talisman
him,
that I
but he's
personally
still
made.
alive and well.
Take it.
If
Yang
you
Yu said.
encounter any
Jiang
difficulties
Chen's
in the
influence
future,
on Great
you
Chen
can send a
Empire was
message
too
through this
great.
talisman.
He had been
As long
deified.
as you don't leave
Even
the
the
immortal
emperor
world,
felt the
I will
same.
receive it. In his heart,
Jiang
Jiang Chen
Chen
was an
evil emperor
omnipotent
took out a pale
existence.
golden
If the
talisman
3
and passed
immortal
it to
courts
Jiang
couldn't
Chen.
kill him,
All
it
right,
was
thank
even
you for
more
your help
impossible
today.
for young Master
Jiang
Chao to
Chen
do
did
so.
not stand on
Let's
ceremony
wait and see.
and took the
If
talisman.
Jiang Chen doesn't
He
come
might
back in
need
3
Tian
hours,
Ping evil
it will be the
emperor's help
time of
for
your
the
death.
changes in the Feng
At
Qi
that time,
immortal
I won't
court in
show
the
any
future.
mercy. All right, don't
Nanbei
stand on
Taishin
ceremony with
harumphed
me.
coldly.
Don't
Flicked
forget
his
to
sleeves
visit the
and turned to
demonic
leave.
immortal island
In
when
his
you
point
are
of
free.
view, Jiang Chen would
Tian
never
Ping
come
evil
back.
emperor said
After
and
all,
stepped
the
into
situation
the air.
was already
Jiang
very
Chen
clear.
turned and looked at
Coming here
Ancestor
meant
Green
death.
Lotus. As long as he
Green
wasn't
Lotus,
a fool,
I didn't
he wouldn't
expect
come.
you to be so
Your
awesome.
Majesty,
Jiang
do you
Chen
think young
sighed.
Master Jiang
It's
Chen
all
will
because
come
of
back
the
to
fate
save
and
us?
fortune of Buddha.
Someone asked. Ancestor Green
Don't worry.
Lotus said with a
Little
smile.
Chinzi won't leave
Little
us behind.
Chinzi, Ancestral
him very
Master,
well.
used to be the
Yang
abbot of White
Bufan said
Dragon
confidently.
Temple. He went
He and
straight to
Jiang
White
Chen were
Dragon
life
Temple
and death
after
brothers.
ascending.
He
I
knew
only
Jiang
found out
Chen's
about it
character
not
very
long
well.
ago. It's
Now
all
that
thanks
Great
to
Chen
Ancestral
Empire was in
Master
trouble,
that I can advance
as long
to
as
the Great
Jiang Chen
Sovereign
received
Realm
the
now.
challenge letter,
He would come
Tyrant said
forward even if
excitedly.
he had to climb a
One
mountain
could
of
see that
swords or
Tyrant
plunge
was also
into a
very
sea of
surprised
flames.
about the true
I'm
identity
worried
of
that Jiang
Ancestor
Chen
Green
isn't a
Lotus.
match for the northern
Little
and
Monk
southern
has a deep
dynasties.
fate with Buddha.
I heard that your
Young
future
Master Chao
achievement
is
will
the
surely
reincarnation
surpass
of
this
great
old
sovereign
monk.
Badian.
Ancestor
Now that
Green
he has
Lotus
advanced
looked
to
at
the
the
Tyrant
Great
and
Sovereign
said
Realm.
sincerely,
Not even Miss
Jiang
Yan is a
Chen
match
nodded
for
his
him.
head.
How long
The
has
fact
it
that
been since
Jiang could be praised by Ancestor
no
Green
matter
Lotus
how
was
heaven
enough to
defying
show
he
how
is,
extraordinary
he will at most
Tyrant
advance
was.
by one
All
level.
along, Tyrant
How
had
can he
never
be a
been an
match for
ordinary
young Master
person.
Chao?
How could
That's
a person
right.
who could control the
Jiang
god
Qin isn't a
trembling
match for
monument
them,
be an ordinary
not only
person?
will we die,
Everyone,
but he
let's
will
not
also
stand
lose
here
his
in
life.
chat. Let's enter the genius
Let's leave it to
prefecture.
fate.
I have
Great
already
Qin
arranged
Empire
everything.
has reached the most critical
Young
moment
Bufan
of life
stepped
and
forward.
death.
I wonder
Alright.
if young Master
Jiang
Jiang
Qin
can
nodded.
create another miracle
Under the
this
lead
time.
of Yang Bufan,
Most of the prisoners of the
Great
Qin
Qin
Empire
Empire
were
were
filled
filled
with
with
despair.
despair.
The place that
According
young
to
Bufan
Nanbei
had
Taishin,
arranged was
there
the
were only
courtyard
3
where
hours
Jiang
left.
Qin used to
If
cultivate
Jiang
in
Qin
genius
didn't come,
prefecture.
their doomsday would
Although
come.
Jiang Qin had left,
Even if
this
Jiang
place
Qin
was
were
still
to come,
intact
he
for
would
him.
not be a match
Great
for young
Qin
Master
Empire
Chao.
still needed to
After all,
reorganize
the difference
with
in
great fanfare.
cultivation between the two
After
of them was
defeating
huge.
Nanbei family,
However, now that
Qin
they
had
had
become
become
prisoners,
prisoners,
the true
the final
overlord
fate
of
of
the
East
Great
Xuanhuan.
Qin Empire was in the
Jiang
hands
Qin
of
and
Jiang
Ancestor
Qin.
Green Lotus
Whether they
chatted for
lived
a
or
night.
died, they could only
Early
leave
the
it
next
to fate.
morning, Ancestor
Monsieur,
Green
are you
Lotus
all right?
left with Tyrant.
Young Bufan
The
looked
second
at Yan
catastrophe
Qinyu and
was
asked
coming.
worriedly.
This was
The
that
message
day
that
Ancestor
Qinyu
Green
had
Lotus
suffered
left
serious
for Jiang
injuries
Qin
during the
before he
battle
left.
with the northern and
As a
southern
matter of
dynasties.
fact, Jiang
I'm
Qin had been
fine.
preparing for
Don't
this
worry,
catastrophe.
Brother Qin will definitely come back.
Yan Xinyu said.
Ever since the battle with the barbarian race in desolate ancient land, in her heart, he had witnessed the strength and never disappointed her. Race. No matter how big the crisis had recuperated for such a long time that their foundation was strong enough to launch the situation. Catastrophe at
Moreover,
any time.
Yan Xinyu knew
the arrival of the catastrophe wasn't a matter of one person. Sent by someone else. Everyone in the immortal world must be prepared. But since it was sent by the northern and southern dynasties, in front of us, Jiangchen would definitely appear. Jiangchen left with the Huang dog, the only person that Jiangchen couldn't admit defeat to was the northern and southern barbarian race. Just like how the northern and southern dynasties wouldn't admit defeat to Jiangchen. The most pressing matter at hand was Nangong Wendian and Feng. To the people of Great Qian Empire, this was simply an anxious wait. Every second was torture. They were now standing on the execution ground, after waiting for the time to come. Huang dog left. By this time, many of them had begun to regain peace once again. Many of them thought that after this huge incident, Great Qian Empire could be considered to have gained a firm foothold in East Xuanhuan. After all, the letter of challenge had been sent out 3 days ago. If he was going to show up, he would have already arrived. Exquisite paradise and celestial flower valley were on good terms. The martial arts field began to stir. As long as the immortal court didn't take action, a tyrannical figure there wouldn't be another existence that could go against Great Qian Empire. Domineering aura from head to toe. Tianping evil emperor, he wore a golden robe and had a head full of gold at the same time. His body was filled with the strong domineering aura. They wouldn't dare to take action against Great Qian was none other than the northern and southern dynasties who had just advanced in the White Dragon Temple still had a great influence in the immortal world. Just as Jiangchen had expected, the next important thing was the opening of the miniature had just advanced to the first great reason why Jiangchen entered their control of the great sovereign law was almost perfect. Yan Xinyu was still cultivating in the Great Qian Empire. She had just become a great monarch, young master Chao, and she needed to stabilize her cultivation won't dare to show up. The Great Qian Empire was undoubtedly the best place for her to cultivate. He will definitely show up. To Jiangchen, he had gained quite a southern dynasties said indifferently. Firstly, he had completely settled the grudge between him and the northern and southern dynasties. It was time for him to put an end to the conflict between him and the northern and southern dynasties after such a long time. Young Master Chao, he met his old friend, old ancestor Green Lotus, which gave him a great surprise. If he doesn't show up, not only was he happy to meet an old friend, but he also temporarily got rid of the northern dynasties was as calm as before. But before the catastrophe of the immortal world arrived, no one doubted the words of the northern and southern immortal courts had saved Jiangchen a lot of unquestionable. I really didn't expect Green Lotus to be the abbot of White Dragon Temple. As long as Jiangchen didn't show up, this is really unbelievable. Like a river today, turning this place into a slaughterhouse. It was impossible to say that he wasn't shocked by the identity of old ancestor Green Lotus. Countless faces of despair were incomparably pale. The stronger old ancestor Green Lotus felt that death was so close to them. As far as I know, the abbot of White Dragon Temple isn't just a sixth-grade great see a man and a dog appearing. Green Lotus definitely has a lot of room filled with raging waves. Buddhism can still play a vital role in the fight against the barbarian world. He was like an unparalleled god of war, casually emitting a radiance that caused Green Lotus not dare to look at him directly. The second calamity of the immortal world is coming. Sister Ning also said the same thing when she appeared. He didn't abandon our desolate ancient land to save you. Jiangchen has personally witnessed the terror of the barbarian world. As long as Jiangchen is calamity, everything will be fine. Jiangchen nodded. All the people of Great Qian Empire, that a new catastrophe was about to arrive, revealed a look of ecstasy the moment they excited about this catastrophe. It was an indescribable the entire immortal world. They didn't know how strong Jiangchen was. The barbarians of the immortal world know if Jiangchen could defeat the northern and southern Tower had not been upgraded for a long time. That as long as Jiangchen was here, they would be saved to the 57th floor. Jiangchen would never watch the catastrophe came. There was no doubt Tower would be greatly upgraded. It was a kind of faith, a blind faith. There was no doubt about this. He has never disappointed anyone. As soon as Jiangchen's mouth revealed a trace of a smile, surrounded by the disciples of the Dragon Hall. He knew that he wasn't wrong about Jiangchen. They didn't know what had happened in the Great Qian Empire yesterday, but they had heard about what had happened in the demonic immortal island. His cultivation base has already reached the demonic immortal island was such a big event that everyone in the world would know about it, step away from Jiangchen, who was a famous person. Given his junior brother Jiang has returned, capable of fighting the northern and southern dynasties. His cultivation base has already advanced to the half-step sovereign realm. Chapter 2001. Not only what kind of joke is this, but also Xianhu, the old emperor, and many other immortal venerables had also noticed the tremendous progress of Jiangchen's cultivation base. How long has it been? And the cultivation base that Jiangchen had displayed had undoubtedly given Great Qian Empire another kind of confidence. If I'm not mistaken, although the northern and southern dynasties were only brother won't be a match for the half-step sovereign realm, Jiangchen couldn't be measured by ordinary cultivation transformation skill. Even if he was only a peak immortal venerable, it was enough to be compared to the northern and southern dynasties. The disciples of the Dragon Hall felt as if they were going to go crazy. The northern and southern dynasties looked at Jiangchen and immediately unleashed their violent battle. They were outstanding geniuses. Jiangchen's eyes, however, fell upon the prisoners, especially when he saw the injured Yan Xinyu. In
The
their
fury
point of
in
view,
his eyes
Jiang
couldn't
Qin
be
was simply a
concealed.
monster.
Northern
He was
and
a little
southern
too
dynasties.
abnormal.
You have hurt someone
Senior
you
brothers
shouldn't
and
have.
senior sisters.
And for
I'll
everything that
feel
your
embarrassed
Nanbei
if all
family
of
has
you
done to
stare at
Great
me like
Qian
a
Empire
tiger watching
you
its
will have to
prey.
pay a heavy
Jiang
price.
Qin said
From
hastily.
today onwards,
Embarrassed?
you and Nanbei
Our
family
junior
will
brother
cease to
Jiang
exist.
actually knows how to be
Jiang
embarrassed.
Qin spoke
Loudly,
loudly,
his
his
entire being was
junior
filled
brother
with a
Jiang,
domineering
I
aura.
heard that you've become
Jiang
famous
Qin, I
after
like
going
your
to the
arrogance.
demonic immortal
Let's put an
island.
end to our
Why don't you
conflict
tell us
today?
how you became sworn
Unfortunately,
brothers
the
with
one
a
who will
great
die in
figure
the
like
end
Tian
isn't
Ping,
me,
evil
but you.
emperor?
My
That's
northern
really
and southern
exciting.
dynasties
That's
are
right.
invincible.
That's Tian
The
Ping,
northern
evil
and southern
emperor we're
dynasties
talking about.
spoke.
I
Their
didn't
golden
expect you
hairs
to
stood
become
erect,
sworn brothers
like sharp
with him.
swords piercing
It's a
into the
great
void
pity
one
that I
day.
didn't see that scene
The
with my
ultimate
own
battle,
eyes.
a life and death battle.
Junior brother Jiang,
With
you
the
have to
sway
tell
of
us
his
about
body,
it. Jiang
Big
Qin
senior
arrived
brother's
above the
story
sky.
is so boring.
He transformed into his
Yu
dragon
Feng and the
form and
others
opened up a
surrounded Jiang
battlefield.
Qin as soon as they
All
came
right.
up and started
With
talking
the
at the
sway of
same
his
time.
body,
Yu
Nanbei
Huafan
didn't know
appeared on
whether
the
to laugh or
battlefield,
cry.
standing opposite
Jiang
of
Qin
Jiang
didn't
Qin.
even have the time
His
to
face
interrupt.
was filled with overbearing
all
chi.
right. Are you
After
guys
so
done
many
yet?
years, this
Yu
pair of old
Huafan said
enemies had
angrily.
finally reached the
Go
pinnacle
away,
of the
big
immortal
senior
world.
brother.
Your
Now they
story
were
is
going to have a
boring.
true showdown.
We're going to sit down
This
and have a
time it
long
would be a
talk with
battle of
junior
life
brother
and death.
Jiang.
From
Duan
today
Ren
onwards,
pushed Yu Huafan
there would only
aside
be one
impatiently.
between Jiang
Yu
Qin and
Huafan
Nanbei
shook his
chowing
head
the immortal
helplessly.
world. This
He
was
really
the common
couldn't do
thought of
anything
both
for
of his
them.
junior brothers
They had
and
the same
sisters.
goal.
They
didn't
didn't
have the
retreat
dignity
or
of a
fear,
big
even
senior
if they
brother
would
at
die
all.
in the hands of
The
the other
Dragon
party.
Hall was indeed
Jiang
united.
Qin, your growth as
Big
indeed
senior brothers
surprised me.
didn't have the airs of a big
Unfortunately,
senior
your
brother.
immortal venerable
When everyone
cultivation
gathered
base is
together,
still
they were
far
like
from
real
being able
brothers
to
and
fight me.
sisters.
My means
Jiang
aren't
Qin
something
liked this
you can
warm
imagine.
atmosphere very much.
Killing you today will
All right,
fulfill
you
one of
little
my
brat,
wishes.
That's
said
enough.
Jiang Qin. A voice
The
was
northern
heard
and
not
southern
far away.
dynasties spoke
Feng
arrogantly.
Jingyang was seen
It wasn't
leisurely
because he
walking
didn't
towards
put
them
Jiang
with a
Qin
faint
in his
smile
eyes,
on his face,
but because of his innate
Master, you really
arrogance
have a
and
good eye
supreme
this time.
dominance.
You
On
found
the
a good
contrary,
disciple.
Jiang Qin
Yu
had
Feng
already
said with a
become the
smile.
existence that the
I don't
northern
need you
and
to tell
southern
me about my
dynasties
eye.
cared about the most.
Feng Jingyang glared at
Empress
Yu Feng and said, the miniature
Otherwise,
Feng
the
Chi
northern
world
and
is going
southern
to open the
dynasties
day
wouldn't
after
have
tomorrow.
specially issued a
You should
challenge
at least
to
make
Jiang
some
Qin and waited
preparations.
here for 3 days.
Yes, master.
In the entire
Hong
mortal
Ying said,
world,
Jiang Qin was
come with
probably
me.
the only
Feng
person that the
Jingyang
northern
called
and
out
southern
and turned around
dynasties
to walk
regarded
back.
with such importance.
Master is so
Northern
biased.
and southern
He never
dynasties,
talked to
I've
me
heard
alone.
these words too many
Duan
times.
Ren looked envious.
Let's see who's the real
Why
deal.
not?
Jiang Qin didn't want to waste time. The last
Nor did
time
he
you
want
did
to talk
something
nonsense
wrong,
with the
Master
northern
looked
and
for you
southern
alone
dynasties.
and punished you severely.
There was no need for
Get
nonsense
lost.
between him
Not
and the
far
northern
away,
and southern
Jiang
dynasties
Qin came to
because it
Feng
was
Jingyang's
meaningless.
side.
For
Jiang Qin,
even I
moved.
am afraid of your
A
current
dragon roar
identity.
shook the sky.
Feng
The
Jingyang
true
teased
dragon
with a
palm
smile.
rushed towards the northern
Master
and
must
southern
be joking.
dynasties like a towering blood barrier. Sensing the power of Jiang Qin, the eyes of the northern and southern dynasties changed a little, because
As
the
a matter
combat
of
strength
fact,
that
Feng
Jiang Qin
Jingyang
had just
felt that
displayed
being
was
Jiang
too
Qin's
inconsistent
master
with
was
his
rather
cultivation
stressful.
base. Not only was
The
it
fact that a
stressful,
late
it wasn't
immortal
a small
venerable
amount
could
of
exert
stress.
combat strength
Putting
that
everything
was on
else
par with
aside,
them
when
had
Jiang
dealt a
Qin
blow to
addressed
the
him as
pride of the
master in
northern
front
and
of
southern
Tian Ping
dynasties.
evil emperor
The
and
northern
old
and southern
ancestor Green
dynasties
Lotus,
weren't
his
fools.
heart trembled.
They knew very
What
well
kind of
that it was
people were
absolutely
Tian Ping evil
impossible for
emperor
them
and
to
old
exert such
ancestor
terrifying
terrifying
combat strength
They were
when
well-known
still at the
figures in
late
the
immortal
entire
venerable
mortal
realm.
world. In
Other
this
than the
aspect
sovereign
alone, they were
domain,
no
they were
match
the
for
pinnacle
Jiang
existences.
The feeling
Feng
of being
Jingyang
inferior
had to
made
address
the northern and
himself as a
southern
junior in
dynasties
front of them,
incomparably
but Jiang
uncomfortable
Qin had become
to the
sworn
point that they
brothers with
couldn't
them.
accept it. This
In the
disciple of
face
his
of
was
such a
quite
situation,
incredible. The only
back to
thing
the
that
main
the
topic,
northern and
the
southern
miniature Feng
dynasties
Chi
could do
world
was
will
to
be
use their
opening the day
strongest
after
means to
tomorrow.
destroy the other
It's an
party and let
opportunity
the other
for the
party die
disciples of the
tragically.
immortal court.
In that way,
The
they
miniature
could completely
Feng Chi
defend
world
their
is a
dignity.
special space that exists.
The northern
There
and
are
southern
many
dynasties
inheritances
struck
of
as
ancient
well.
experts in it,
Their reddish
and there
golden
are also
fists
ancient
collided
great
with
devil
Jiang
ruins.
Chen's blood-red
After
dragon
it was
claw.
discovered by
In
the
just an
immortal
instant,
court,
the
it was
violent
named the
energy
miniature
tore the
Feng
void
Chi
apart.
world.
It was
With
too
your current
violent.
strength, as
Even
long as
though
your
a
luck
battlefield
isn't bad,
had been opened
there
up,
won't be much
the
danger
pressure
in the
radiating
miniature
from the
Feng Chi
battle
world.
still made the people below
Feng
feel
Jingyang
incomparably
continued,
uncomfortable.
as for the fights between the disciples of the
After
immortal
the first
court,
collision,
if the disciples of other halls casted out the 5 elements combat dragon seal while Nanbei Chao casted out the wisdom king situation of the miniature Fengqi world to fierce battle. The miniature Fengqi world wasn't created by the northern and southern dynasties. It originally existed, the great sovereign realm, occupied by the immortal court after they discovered it. Jiangchen was also many powerful ruins and benefits in the miniature half-dragon form. With the help of the disciples who had cultivated to the great sovereign level wouldn't have ancient art. He already had the ability to contend against the northern and southern dynasties. I hope to obtain some benefits from entering the miniature Fengqi world. The two of them were equally matched. Jiangchen nodded. Given Jiangchen's current strength, his real piece of cake for him to kill an ordinary first great sovereign genius. But it was a different story when it came to the geniuses of the relationship with heaven sovereign. The faces of the people below turned to Jiang Qin seriously. They had never seen such a fierce battle before. When Jiang Qin came to the immortal court, of them was trembling with fear. By Heaven's sovereign. Their eyes were glued to the battlefield. Whether it was the people of Great Qin Empire or Nanbei Celestial Emperor, they were all paying close attention to this battle. Why would he have any friendship with the mere Jiang Qin? Everyone knew that the outcome of this battle was directly related to their life and death. For a long time, if Jiang Qin was defeated, realized the only thing that awaited Great Qin Empire would be annihilated. He could not be viewed with the eyes of an ordinary person. If the northern and southern dynasties were defeated, become the ending of Nanbei family wouldn't be any better either. Master, why do you ask? Jiang Qin has really come. Jiang Qin frowned. He's truly a monstrous genius. He had a vague feeling that something was about to happen. He would make tremendous progress. Jiang Qin, I won't hide it from you. Now he's already able to fight. If you're related to Sky Emperor Chao with his late immortal venerable cultivation, because Star Emperor is already preparing to take action against him. An elder of Nanbei family couldn't help but sigh while looking at the heated battle in the sky. Jiang Qin's face turned cold. Even if he was unwilling, he had to admit that Jiang Qin was very powerful. Was unavoidable. It was imaginable that if Jiang Qin chose to take action against Heaven Emperor with the northern and southern dynasties, the Celestial Emperor would definitely be at a disadvantage with his current cultivation at all. Star Emperor is secretly trying to persuade the elders of the you and I can imagine. After all, he still has action against Heaven Emperor is a big deal. Jiang Qin will die if he doesn't manage to persuade. There's no doubt about it. Star Emperor will be accused of murdering the sovereign lord. Spoke with incomparable confidence. Has to pay attention to this. Nanbei family had the same blind confidence in the northern opposition from the higher-ups of the reincarnation of great sovereign Badian was enough to give them great confidence. In my opinion, the people of Great Qin Empire is done with his job. After seeing that Jiang Qin wasn't at a disadvantage against the northern and southern dynasties, each and every one of them became excited. I'm afraid that Heaven Emperor Palace will no longer exist. Young Master Jiang Qin has become even more terrifying. Not to get too close to Heaven Emperor. He's able to fight a great sovereign with his late immortal confidential cultivation base. Normally, he's the most heaven-defying Jiang Qin I've ever seen. Now that he had told Jiang Qin about it, I've already said that as long as Jiang Qin is here, we will be fine. Of course, Feng Jingyang also wanted to test Jiang Qin. In front of him, the suppression of the rulers might kill the northern and southern dynasties was just energy suppression. Jiang Qin asked. The suppression was useless. Since he had already spoken about intimidating Jiang Qin also wanted to know Feng Jingyang's dragon seal. It was certain that he wanted to save Sky himself, but he did not want to be enemies with Feng Jingyang when the time came. The sovereign heaven art of the northern and southern dynasties was too powerful. The immortal court. Jiang Qin had to use a fierce method to resist bottom line when I do things. The mad dragon roared. Sovereign nor heaven sovereign dragon emerged, carrying rolling lightning to do things that I don't want to do. Jiang Qin integrated six kinds of power in charge of the immortal court. Such a mystical dragon in carrying endless fighting against heaven sovereign. Once again, but I oppose it from the northern and southern dynasties. After all, heaven sovereign and earth changed color again in the past. This was the pinnacle confrontation between the sovereign heaven art and the slaughtered dragon seal. Was just as he had imagined. Both were the most powerful means. If he was in the outside world, he would be a lone ranger with vast ocean-like energy. Even the sovereign lord would not be able to force him to do things that he didn't want to do before they could stabilize their bodies. Therefore, he would choose not to participate in the battle between Star Sovereign and Heaven Sovereign. The Tao of Slaughter there was nothing he could do about the dragon transformation. Feng Jingyang had already shown the greatest benevolence by not helping the Star Emperor. With the help of the great divination art, it was impossible for him to calculate the attack trajectory of the northern and southern dynasties. Feng Jingyang was not a fool. But even so, he was only a neutral party with the northern and southern dynasties. There was no reason for him to help someone who could not possibly win and even lose his life. It could be seen that the strength of the northern and southern dynasties had reached a terrifying level. If it was someone else, he would definitely help Star Sovereign. Haha again. There was no doubt about it. The northern and southern dynasties laughed wildly. Jiang Qin did not misjudge Feng was even more intense than before. Feng Jingyang was worthy. They raised their hands to the sky. If that was the case, he would lay his cards on the table. It was a peerless ruler. His appearance couldn't be seen clearly, influence, but the body of a ruler was beneficial if he could be roped in by heaven. It was like a mountain pressing towards Jiang Qin would greatly affect the hearts of others. Especially those who had followed Heaven's body changed were treated well by him. He changed from a half-human, half-dragon. What would you do if I said that I have an unusual relationship with Heaven's sovereign? Just from the size, he was even bigger than the phantom of the ruler. To help Heaven's the dragon's body circled in the sky. Jiang Qin looked at Feng Jingyang. Its body was filled with extremely calm tone. Its emotionless and cold eyes looked down on everything in the world. Visibly trembled, its huge dragon claws could crush the whole world with a casual move. Obviously, he had such a thought, but he did not expect it to be shocking. Now that it was said by Jiang Qin, there was no doubt about it. The aura of a real dragon. Jiang Qin, this matter is not a joke. Completely become a deity. Jingyang's tone was too terrifying. Could it be that his dragon transformation is not a simple transformation skill today? I have nothing to hide. The reincarnation of an ancient real dragon. Got to know each other in the same origin world. The human was also friends with old ancestor Green Lotus back then. Who cares? That's why Green Lotus called me an old friend. Anan and I are brothers of life and death. I hope he can defeat the northern and southern dynasties. To be the reincarnation of Heaven's sovereign. Many people looked at the dragon my brother is in trouble and were shocked. Jiang Qin, they had never seen such a shocking scene before. Even if I have to sacrifice myself. This is the reason why I came to the Fengqi Immortal Court. Both of them disregarded the injuries on their bodies and continued to collide fiercely. The body of a true dragon and the body of a monarch were like two mountains colliding back and forth. Even though he had prepared himself mentally, dragon scales danced in the air and blood gushed out crazily. He looked at Jiang Chen in shock and continued to appear on the body of a monarch. He knew that Jiang Chen and northern and southern dynasties were also but he didn't expect their relationship to be so deep. It was obvious that they had suffered serious injuries. Even so, that his previous words of persuasion to Jiang Chen the two of them seemed to have entered a state of selflessness. He knew that Jiang Chen was completely immersed in the friendship and would do eternal immortal wind. The two of them seemed to have reached the immortal understanding as they unleashed the eternal immortal wind at the same time. also felt extremely gratified. Wind waves completely formed a domain, that Jiang Chen didn't hide two domains from him and told him such a big secret. Jiang Chen was enough to show that Jiang Chen had already treated him as one of his own immortal wind. This was a form of absolute trust. The northern and southern dynasties one should know that if he told Star Sovereign about this, Jiang Chen's death would be waiting northern and southern dynasties. However, Jiang Chen still told him immortal wind that I unleashed is not any weaker than yours. Feng Jingyang felt that his sincerity wasn't wasted and that his judgment wasn't wrong. Wind constantly gushed out from his body also knew that he had to make a choice because Jiang Chen was going to participate in the battle between Star Sovereign and Heaven Sovereign. A feeling of doomsday. As his master, he couldn't just stay out of it. Scene has really even the entire Dragon Hall couldn't stay out of it. Too fierce, too violent. He couldn't clean up Jiang Chen. These two are monstrous geniuses. However, if he didn't do it, how great would it be if I could reach that level one day? It seemed that he had no other choice. I advise you to hurry up and pee. But Jiang Chen, don't worry about how much you pee. Look at yourself first. Feng Jingyang, take a look at yourself first. This was what he was worried about. How dare you compare yourself to Jiang Chen? Heaven Sovereign wasn't the same as before. Can't I have a dream? Star Sovereign was powerful, even if I can't almost controlled the entire immortal court. Whether it was the people of Great Chen Empire or Nanbei family, Star Sovereign, all of them were deeply attracted by the fierce battle between Jiang Chen and the northern and southern dynasties. It was an unimaginable shock. Elephant bloodline in the miniature Feng Chi world. Even Jiang Chen had to admit that the northern and southern dynasties world this time is to help Heaven Sovereign find the ancient elephant blood pressure. As long as the ancient elephant bloodline is found, his injuries were obviously more serious than those of the northern and southern dynasties. However, the recovery speed of Jiang Chen's dragon transformation Sovereign won't be that scary on the surface. Moreover, Jiang Chen's situation was no different from that of the northern and southern dynasties. Everyone may follow This was also the terrifying part of the dragon transformation stands out Jiang Chen that is not weaker than Star Sovereign. With such a terrifying recovery speed, the immortal Jiang Chen was almost invincible. Especially those who used to follow Heaven Sovereign. At this moment, Jiang Chen was completely immersed. Since he had already laid his cards on the table, he hadn't found this feeling for a long time. Moreover, the impact of the pressure emerging from the northern and southern dynasties on Jiang Chen was a completely different scene. Secretly because the circulation of the dragon transformation skill was getting faster and faster. Plan. Jiang Chen ancient elephant bloodline he was about to break through under this wonderful state and once Jiang Chen obtained it, his cultivation base would recover very quickly. New dragon marks had appeared in Jiang Chen also had a sworn brother Tianping evil emperor. Fighting against the northern and southern dynasties, Jiang Chen was also constantly growing evil emperor for the northern and southern dynasties. Although they could feel he was very loyal. Such a battle, as long as Jiang Chen was in trouble, he would not hesitate to appear. This was because their original way of thinking was different from Jiang Chen's. The three great immortal courts, Jiang Chen had never entered the immortal world, let alone come into contact with the great emperor were enough of a deterrent force. The realm he was in now was his most powerful realm. Didn't even dare to imagine what northern and southern dynasties would face once they clashed. He was great emperor. I didn't expect the immortal court to be so calm on the surface. Whether it was in terms of vision or knowledge, he was much more experienced than Jiang Chen. Looks like I have to make a decision for him to find the same state that Jiang Chen was in. Calm at all. If the battle continued some time to digest, Jiang Chen would have a chance to counterattack because he was constantly getting stronger. I think Master has already made preparations. If this continued, the result could be easily imagined. Jiang Chen glared at Jiang Chen. That's right. The northern and southern dynasties made a grabbing motion. Or it could be said that he had no other sword appeared in their hands unless he immediately took down Jiang Chen and handed him over to Star Sovereign. In hand. However, the chi of the northern and southern dynasties suddenly rose by a lot. He was a person who cherished obviously more terrifying. It was his pride to finally accept such a disciple. You should be proud of yourself for being able to fight him like this with your cultivation base of a peak immortal venerable. Moreover, the immortal court originally belonged to Heaven Sovereign. I'll kill you straight away. Even if he chose Heaven Sovereign, he would be defending the immortal court soared into the sky. So Master, when Star Sovereign mobilized onto Jiang Chen's the immortal court, not good. You must be absolutely using the monarch sword. The more vehemently you oppose, the more Star Sovereign will greatly increase the combat strength of the northern and southern dynasties. Some time for Heaven Sovereign. Jiang Chen doesn't have a sovereign weapon that can fight against the ancient elephant. I'm afraid he won't be a match for it. He still needs time to refine. The legendary monarch sword is just too terrifying. Yes, I wonder how Jiang Chen is going to deal with it. Since I've made my choice, I naturally know what to do. I believe that Jiang Chen still has a powerful trump card that he hasn't used yet. Sovereign to avoid unnecessary trouble. Since he dares to fight the northern and southern dynasties, perhaps no one would care about it in the past. He must have some confidence in winning. After all, you were just an insignificant figure of that time. Upon seeing the northern and southern dynasties using the monarch sword,
Everyone knows that you and Tianping evil emperor have become sworn brothers. Their faces were filled with worry. Your speed of improvement was no way they wouldn't be worried. The immortal court knew how much a peerless sovereign weapon could bring to a cultivator. Feng Jingyang reminded Jiang Chen was able to fight the northern and southern dynasties on equal footing with the monarch sword. Jiang Chen said the situation would be reversed immediately. Go and get ready. Jiang Chen would no longer be a match for them. The day after tomorrow. Young Master Chao's monarch sword Jiang Chen's shoulder and turned to leave. This time, looking at Jiang Jingyang's 3 heads and 6 arms, he was still being held by the monarch sword. A long sigh. That's right. Today he had successfully obtained Feng Jingyang's support and pulled Feng Jingyang and Dragon Hall to Heaven's sovereign side. Compared to the worries of the people of Great Shan Empire, the people of Nanbei family were extremely excited. In the process of naturally, they had their reasons to be excited. But his influence on the internal affairs of the immortal court was extremely great. After all, the Hall Master of Dragon Hall still held and southern dynasties would win with the monarch sword. A peerless sword appeared in Jiang Chen's hand. Appeared in the courtyard. It was a soaring sword that emitted an immortal glow. At this moment, Jiang Chen was sitting on a big green rock with his eyes closed. In terms of aura, the sword was not any weaker than the monarch sword of the northern and southern dynasties. Immortal execution sword? Brother Jiang, why do you have the immortal execution sword? Misjudge you. Upon seeing the immortal execution sword, really astonishing. The people of the northern and southern dynasties had a slight change of expression. Jiang Chen's cultivation base had already reached the incomparably powerful immortal execution sword. To him, this situation was pretty ridiculous. Although the monarch sword was also a peerless monarch weapon, it was still inferior to the immortal execution sword and the immortal burying coffin. Although the northern and southern dynasties could use the monarch sword to fight against the for 2 days and there are powerful demons inside, it did not mean that every time someone dies inside, he must be using this opportunity to kill Junior Jiang. Although the immortal burying coffin was powerful, snappily, She was a straightforward person and hated the leopard hall's way of doing things the most. She could not unleash its true power. You better not provoke me. On the other hand, the monarch sword of the northern and southern dynasties was a natal monarch weapon that could perfectly unleash the power of the monarch sword. In his eyes at all. As such, the gap between the monarch sword and the immortal burying coffin was narrowed. Jiang Chen would never be polite. That's none of your business. Moreover, now they did not have the monarch sword and I have the immortal execution sword. The Hall Master of the Leopard Hall was definitely on the same side as Jiang Chen said loudly. Jiang Chen, fastest and error-free novel reading, please visit. Great senior brother, that's Jiang Chen. He's been in the limelight recently, and he even became of the immortal execution sword had indeed shocked the northern and southern dynasties. One of the people from the Leopard Hall said it had also exceeded their expectations. He's just a half-step sovereign. Jiang Chen also has a peerless sword in his hand. I will personally take action this time to make him stay in the miniature Feng world. What sword is that? Even if he became sworn brothers, the northern and southern dynasties were talking about the immortal execution sword. Heisha said disdainfully, "Oh my God, did not put Jiang Chen in his eyes at all. Monarch weapon left behind by the immortal execution. After all, he was a young famous existence in the immortal world. Unfortunately, the immortal execution Jiang Chen's means. Today, Jiang Chen has obtained the immortal execution saying such words. This is too shocking. Jiang Chen met Heisha's gaze and a disdainful smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. I told you that Jiang Chen must have a powerful trump card. For the opening of the immortal execution sword. Not long after, won't be afraid of the northern from southern dynasties anymore. The person was none other than hard to tell what the outcome will be. Feng Jingyang's arrival can always bring about miracles. Feng Jingyang's position in the immortal court was very high. Were overjoyed when they saw the appearance of the immortal execution sword. A talisman appeared in Feng Jingyang's sword was known by everyone. The talisman did not look small and was branded with complicated runes. It was enough for them to have full energy rushed out from Feng Jingyang's body. The people of Nanbei family, on the other hand, were in a different situation. The talisman shone brightly and infused with a smile on their faces, turning into an illusory door. Damn it, why does this bastard have the immortal execution sword coming from inside? Didn't the immortal execution sword disappear along with the immortal execution king in the open for 2 days? Damn it. After 2 days, I will open the door again for 10 minutes. Chen has the immortal execution come out within 10 minutes. With his current strength, otherwise you will have to stay inside for half the immortal execution. There was once a disciple who did not listen to my advice and did not unleash the power of the monarch sword. He died tragically in the end. Therefore, there's still a certain gap between them. All right, let's go in. Just wait and see. Feng Jingyang waved his hand and the door rose to a height of 30 to 40 feet. Although they were shocked, the people of Nanbei family still had absolute confidence in the northern and southern dynasties. Through to the half-step sovereign realm. Young Master Chao was absolutely supreme in the hearts of countless people of Nanbei family and was the first to fly up and rush into the door. That was omnipotent. Immediately on the battlefield, figures rushed into the door and the immortal exterminating sword and the emperor's sword. More than 1,000 people flew into the door and entered the miniature Feng wanted to suppress the other's aura. Junior Jiang, this door is only open for a limited time. The legendary immortal slaying sword is. The northern and southern dynasties exploded, and boundless emperors light fused into the monarch sword. Then their bodies flashed and rushed into the door. 300 meters long, all the disciples who participated in the trial had entered. The sword Qi soared waved his hand, and a dragon of sword Qi appeared in the sky, was kept poking a huge hole in the sky. Whether you can succeed or not depends on you. Qi gushed out from the hole. Shwa. The northern and southern dynasties acted, slashing down with their swords. Chapter 2024 stirred the wind and clouds. Within the miniature Feng world, strong winds were howling and there were violent hurricanes everywhere. The peerless emperor there were many black winds and devil winds. It was unknown how much power this sword contained. Anyone had to use a word to describe it, but it would be that it could destroy the heavens. The miniature Feng world on the other side was an incomparably cruel domineering. The immortal like the golden horizon also 300 there should have been a great number of massacres here as there were many relics. Several kinds of apart supreme from flames. That, there were also many constantly swallowed and spat out in such a dark environment. Like countless spiritual demons and ghosts were very suitable extremely to beautiful. Although the environment was harsh, there was extremely terrifying this place were all geniuses of the immortal court. The lowest cultivation base among them was at least at the immortal venerable realm. It was also without any when one reached the immortal venerable under countless realm, no matter how harsh the environment was, peerless swords collided with each other. In other words, the environment of the miniature Feng world didn't affect the geniuses of the immortal court at all. It was extreme destruction. Overcome the environment here, the sparks then created no from just one collision directly evolved into a sea of fire. The miniature Feng world was a different dimension, countless sword and its area was still very large. The whole disciples that came in had already gone to different directions. This sword seemed to carry everyone did their own things when it came to searching for opportunities. That violent counterattack caused everyone wanted to keep the benefits for themselves. They were like two small boats in a vast ocean of energy. They looked very small, but not long after Jiang Chen and the people of Dragon Hall entered the miniature bodies world, could not stop. They were stopped by a loud shout. Again, Jiang Chen and the others saw a dozen people of Leopard Hall blocking their way. Technique turned him into an omnipresent ghost. It was also Heisha who charged forward again. Heisha, what are you doing now? Entered a state of battle where he forgot himself. Honging, it's under the stimulation of this state, the number of dragon marks in his sea of Qi began to rise rapidly, madly rushing towards the half-emperor realm. The entire immortal court knows that Lu Jian is my man. Of the northern and southern dynasties means that he didn't give Heisha any face. He and Jiang Chen were like two madmen desperately fighting each other again. Heisha said Lung Lung, this was a battle as though he had completely dominated. In the eyes of others, it was just a cruel and intense battle. I don't know what price you want me to pay. But in the eyes of those who understood, the corner of Jiang Chen's mouth revealed an indifferent smile. The Huang Dog and Yan Shi did not care about this black sand at all. They watched the two madly fight each other, regardless of the blood and injuries on their bodies today. If it was in the past, if you know what's good for you, then cripple your own cultivation and become a cripple like Jiang Chen being injured like this way, it'll be Huang Dog who might have saved me the trouble of killing you myself. But now Yan Xinyu, who was in the prison, using the excuse of avenging Lu Jian, he wanted Jiang Chen sign of them his own cultivation, because they knew very well that this was a duel between Jiang Chen and has never done anything to anyone. It was a predestined decision. Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because their own brothers in order to fulfill their long-cherished wish. Infuriated. Only then would they be able to clear their Dragon Hall bullying others. And only then would they be able to walk a long path to step on the Dragon Hall's neck and take a dump. Huang Dog could not participate in this battle. It was the wrong idea to bully the Dragon Hall. This battle was destined to be cruel. Even if Yu Huafan comes, only one of them killed Jiang Chen. Don't forget, this is the miniature battle had reached its climax. Dying here would be in vain. Two peerless swords constantly collided with each other. It was obvious that Heisha was within a radius of thousands of miles had been turned into chaos. This was the reason why Heisha came to the miniature energy was drifting everywhere, covering the entire sky. Ren wanted to speak, but after this battle, it would take at least a month for this part of the void to return to peace. Indifferently, Jiang Chen and the northern and southern dynasties had become too bloody to avenge Lu Jian, then still showed no signs of stopping. But I have to remind you in advance that you better be mentally prepared everywhere, because once you attack all the emotions in this battle, Lu Jian. I only want this moment to be carefree. Expression changed. The battle lasted for 3 hours. You're too arrogant. Before he knew it, 15,000 dragon marks had appeared in Jiang Chen's GC. Then I'll fulfill your wish. He was only 5,000 away from becoming a half-Jiang Chen in his eyes at all. What was certain was that Jiang Chen had benefited a lot from this battle. He was only driven by that state of selflessness. With his second great cultivation base was also killing a half-step sovereign was as easy as flipping his hand. As long as Jiang Chen could win and survive this battle, wasn't he also a genius? His thoughts would immediately become clear. Heisha knew too little about Jiang Chen. He could directly break through to what happened on the demonic immortal island. Although Jiang Chen's cultivation base was improving, his condition was very bad. He also did not know collisions had caused great damage to his body. Even the terrifying dragon transformation skill could not make high into the sky.
Explosive energy gushed out from his body.
Chapter 2005.
His body began to transform into his dragon form. Jiang Qin and the northern and southern dynasties looked at each other and closed their eyes at the same time. He fully unleashed his second great sovereign aura and came to the opposite of Jiang Qin. They knew that when Jiang Qin and the northern and southern dynasties opened their eyes again, the aura emitted the moment of life was incomparably cold. It was not hard to imagine that after such a cultivation method also belonged to the two of them would probably have to resort to a mutually destructive person who had a special attribute. 5 minutes passed. Just the attribute alone was enough to make the opponent and the northern and southern dynasties didn't think of launching a sneak attack on each other. In this way, the outcome of this battle could be imagined. They just closed their eyes and stood there quietly. Jiang Qin, who had advanced to the half-step sovereign realm, opened their eyes at the same time as though they had discussed it even without the suppression of attributes. Beams of light shot out from their eyes at the same time. From the moment Jiang Qin advanced to the half-step sovereign realm, were like the gap between the two had been completely causing ripples in the void space. Jiang Qin was still in his dragon form. The last move. This Jiang Qin is finished. The northern and southern dynasties raised the emperor's sword in their hands and pointed it at Jiang Qin. That's for sure. Jiang Qin doesn't know the immensity of heaven and the celestial eradication. He dared to challenge senior brother After fighting for so long, this in itself is an act of courting to put an end to this today. After killing Jiang Qin, our leopard hall's reputation can be redeemed. The two of them also appeared at the same time. Their speed was extremely fast and they were like two beams of lightning moves from senior brother Heisha. The people of Leopard Hall were extremely confident. However, this time they weren't pushed back by each other. Their faces were filled with sneers. Their bodies were still, and the swords in their hands pierced into each other's body at the same time. However, the northern and southern dynasty swords pierced through Jiang Qin's shoulders, while Jiang Qin's sword pierced through the northern and southern dynasties' hearts. When Jiang Qin first came to the Dragon Hall, a terrifying sword aura raged and one of Jiang Qin's dragon arms was shattered on the spot. Now that he has advanced to the half-step sovereign realm, he's 2 levels higher than them. Jiang Qin's celestial eradication sword released a destructive sword. Not even big senior brother is a match for him. His sword aura shattered the organs of the northern and southern dynasties and even destroyed their vitality. Yu Feng sneered without the northern and southern dynasties spurted out a mouthful of blood before and knew how powerful Jiang Qin was. It's over, Jiang Qin said calmly. However, at this moment that Heisha would definitely die if he met Jiang Qin. After killing the northern and southern dynasties, he suddenly felt lonely. He can't blame anyone else. Something was missing in his life. Huang nodded. It was an indescribable feeling. She wasn't worried about the battle between Jiang Qin and Heisha. Tell me how you did it. The northern and southern dynasties said. The great divination art deduced the trajectory of your sword, Chapter 2025 avoided your vital parts. Heisha's aura was incomparably strong, you still broke one of my arms. Lethality was incomparably shocking. Said. However, he wanted the northern and southern dynasties to die in peace. Heisha was a second great sovereign, but there was still a small gap between him and At this moment, he had lost his combat strength, was utterly vulnerable. His face was as pale as paper, but there was a wave of regret in his eyes. A fire dragon was conjured out of thin air. I'll let Nanbei family go and guarantee their safety. The fire dragon roared wild domain, and terrifying waves of fire shot out from its body. The entire sky instantly turned into a vast sea of fire. Had never said these two words to anyone. This was the fire dragon seal that Jiang Qin he completely closed his eyes. As the flames in his body increased, to escape with his soul because he knew that under Jiang Qin's control, anything he did completely surpassed the golden dragon seal is dead and could even be compared to the slaughtered dragon finished. Especially when the opponent's attribute Jiang Qin and died under Jiang Qin's sword. The power of the fire dragon seal would be amplified limitlessly. How could this be? Even surpassing the slaughtered dragon seal. Nanbei family was completely agitated. The terrifying fire dragon the northern and southern dynasties was too great of a blow to them. Under the powerful impact of the fire dragon from the sky to the bottom of the valley. Attack was as vulnerable the indescribable difference in their hearts was completely destroyed and collapsing. At the same time, the fire dragon exploded, turning into a sea of fire. Although the northern and southern dynasties are dead, they will welcome a new life heard from the sea of fire. Heisha already erased his flaming man. Bring it back and let him be reborn into Nanbei wasn't just a little bit. And this monarch sword attribute energy became even more fragile after encountering Jiang Qin's flames. And the remains of the northern and southern dragon seal had severely injured him a proper burial. Now that he was trapped in the sea of fire, he directly handed the bodies of the northern and southern dynasties, junior brother Jiang and the monarch sword to Nanbei Taishin. My God. One move. Chapter 2006. Heisha is no match for him. If Junior Jiang killed Jiang Qin's Heisha would be a dead man by now. I've already said that Heisha is courting death by going against the northern and southern dynasties. After advancing to the half-step sovereign realm, the northern and southern dynasties already the number one genius of our but he also wants to ensure the safety of Nanbei brother Xuanhuan is no match for him. This doesn't seem like his style. Everyone in the Dragon Hall was shocked. Master Jiang is in addition to shock, there was also a strong sense of excitement. Young Master Jiang naturally has his own reasons for doing they were. No matter what,
Great Qian Empire represented the Dragon Hall.
Based on their understanding
compared
of
to the excitement on the Dragon Hall
had
side,
never left a
the
way out
people
for
on the
his
Leopard
enemies.
Hall side were
He would
tragic.
always cut the weeds
Each
and
of them
eliminate
looked
the
at Black
roots.
Sand, who was
Normally,
constantly
even if he
struggling
didn't
and
annihilate
screaming in the
Nanbei
sea of
family,
fire,
he would
their
never give the
expressions
northern
were
and southern
extremely
dynasties
ugly.
a chance to be reborn.
How could this be?
As a matter of fact,
How can this
Jianghu
be
also
so
had the
powerful?
same thought
He's
before the
just a
battle with the
half-step
northern and
sovereign while
southern
Senior
dynasties.
Heisha is
He
already a
wanted to
second
kill the
great
northern and
sovereign.
southern dynasties
They're
and
not on the
annihilate
same level
Nanbei
at all.
family.
Stop
However,
talking.
at the moment when
A
his
person
long
like
sword
Jiang
shattered
can
the
no longer be
vitality of
judged
the
by
northern
common
and southern
sense.
dynasties,
Including
he suddenly
senior brother
felt that
Heisha,
without the
we
northern
have
and southern
all
dynasties in
underestimated
his world,
Jiang.
it was as
This
if he
guy
had
has
lost a
grown
part
to
of
an
his life.
undefeatable level.
It was a feeling
I
of
hope he
mutual
doesn't kill
appreciation.
senior brother Heisha
Jiang
directly.
Qin knew that he and the
Otherwise,
northern and
our
southern
Leopard Hall will
dynasties were
suffer
actually
a
the same
serious
kind of
loss.
people.
The
They all
people
wanted
of the
to
Leopard
conquer the
Hall
world
weren't
and sweep
fools.
away all obstacles.
Jiang Qin almost killed
Jiang
Heisha
Qin
with a
felt that if
single
it
move.
wasn't for the
This
arrangement
had
of
made them
fate,
realize how
he and the
terrifying
northern and
Jiang
southern
Qin was.
dynasties might
They
have
saw
become
it
good
clearly.
friends.
It was a
However,
real collision
fate made a
without
fool
any
out of
fancy
people.
moves.
The two
There
of
was
them
no
were
luck
destined to
involved
be
at all.
enemies.
After
Moreover,
struggling
they
for
were
a
old
while,
enemies.
since
Heisha
they
finally
were
broke
enemies,
free
one
from
of
the
them
sea
must
of
die.
fire and
With
extinguished
the
the
death of
flames
the
on his
northern
body.
and southern dynasties.
At this moment,
in order to
Heisha
make up
was
for
in
the
an
regret in
extremely
his
sorry
heart,
state.
Jiang Qin
His
gave
whole
him a
body
chance
was
to be
scorched and
reborn.
he had completely
In this
turned
way,
into a
Jiang
black
Qin's
man.
heart wouldn't be
It should
lonely.
be said that he was
He
charcoal.
erased all the memories
His
of
aura
the
was
souls of the
extremely
northern
weak,
and southern
which
dynasties.
showed how serious his
When the
injuries
northern
were.
and southern dynasties
This was
were
Heisha.
reborn,
If
they
it was
would
an
be a new
ordinary
person.
he would
They
have
would have
died
nothing
in the
to
sea
do
of
with their
fire,
previous
and not
lives.
even ashes would be
At
left.
that time, without his
Heisha,
obstruction,
I won't kill you
the
today,
northern and
but there
southern
won't be
dynasties
next
might
time.
really be able to shine and become the main characters.
You
The
should
Huang
understand
Dog
the
and
logic
Yanchen
of the
didn't
winner
speak.
taking all.
They knew what
If you
Jiang
see me
Qin
in the
was thinking,
future, stay
and the
far
regret
away
in
from
Jiang
me.
Chen's heart.
Otherwise, the next
He was
time will be
ascension
the day you
person,
die.
and it was precisely
After I kill
because
you,
of this
no one
that
can do
Jiang
anything
Qin was
to me.
bestowed
Jiang
with a
Qin.
unique charm.
Jiang Qin
Making them
stopped
willing
his
to
dragon
follow
transformation
and said to
Therefore,
Heisha
no matter what Jiang
condescendingly.
Qin wanted to
It
do,
was a
no matter
serious
how he
form of
wanted to
contempt,
deal with
but
the
it made
grudges between
Heisha
him
unable
and the
to
northern
even
and
get
southern
angry.
dynasties,
Under
they
the
would choose to
absolute
support
suppression of
Jiang Qin.
strength, other than
Nanbei
fear,
Taishing
all he
suddenly
could
had
feel
the
was
urge to
submission.
cry.
Just as
He
Jiang
stretched
Qin
out
had
his
said,
trembling
the winner
hands
takes
and
all
received
and
the
the loser
corpses of
takes
the
all.
northern and southern
This was an
dynasties.
unchanging
The
truth,
soul
and
crystal
Heisha
ball
understood
and
it.
the monarch sword.
His original
From this
intention was to
moment
kill
onwards,
Jiang Qin.
all the grudges
Now that he
between
had been
Nanbei
defeated
family
by
and
Jiang Qin and
Jiang
Jiang
Qin
had spared his life.
Furthermore, with
What else
Jiang
could
Qin's
Heisha
current
say?
strength, he was no
Let's go.
longer someone that
Jiang
the
Qin
northern
waved
and
his
southern
hand at
dynasties
Hong
could
Ying and the
afford
others
to
and flew
provoke.
away.
It was
This
already
was the
thanks
first
to the
interlude
blessing
in the
of the
miniature
northern and
Fengqi
southern
world,
dynasties
and also
that
the first
Nanbei family was able to
after
survive
Jiang
this
Qin
time.
advanced to the half-step
Thank you,
sovereign
young
realm.
Master Jiang.
He defeated his
We
opponent
Nanbei
in a
Taishing
crushing
will
manner.
remember this kindness.
This battle would
I
completely
Nanbei
establish
Taishing
Jiang
swear to
Qin's
the heavens
position
that
in
from
the
now
younger
on,
generation of the
Nanbei
immortal
family will
court.
never be enemies
No
with the
one would
Great
dare
Qian
to
Empire,
compete with him for
nor
the
will we
title
be
of the
enemies
number
with
one
young
genius.
Master Jiang.
On a barren hill
Nanbei
100
Taishing
miles
said
away,
solemnly.
the people of
Then
the Dragon
he led
Hall
the members
landed.
of Nanbei family
Junior
away and
Jiang, the
disappeared
miniature
from the sky
Fengqi
above
world, is
Genius
very
Prefecture.
big. The place we
Young
are at
Master
now should
Jiang,
be at the border.
Jianghu
There are no
represent the millions
opportunities
of
here
people
in
and
the
even
Great Qian
demons and
Empire to
ghosts are
thank
rare.
young Master Jiang for
Huang
your
Ying
kindness.
said.
At this moment, everyone had subconsciously treated Jiang Qin as their backbone and leader. The
Senior
higher-ups
sister
behind
Huang
him
Ying,
also
I think
did
we
the
should
same.
split up from
They
here
were
and
all
look for our
high
own
and mighty
opportunities,
figures, but in front of
if
Jiang
everyone
Qin
were
they were
gathered
nothing.
together,
In their
many
hearts,
people's luck
the
would be
kindness that
concealed
Jiang
and
Qin
lose
had
the
done
meaning
for the
of
Great Qian
training.
Empire was
Jiang
higher
Qin
than the
said.
heavens. It
Junior
was not
Jiang is
something
right.
that could be repaid
Let's
with a
split
mere
up from
bow.
here and look for our
Your
own
Majesty, you don't have to do
benefits.
this. But don't
Sooner
forget
or
to
later,
gather here 2
there will
days
be a
later.
decision between
Master
me and
will
the northern
reopen
and
the
southern
gate of the
dynasties.
miniature Fengqi
Today,
world.
by killing the
Yu
northern
Feng
and
said.
southern dynasties,
After that,
I have fulfilled
everyone
a
went their
long-cherished
separate ways
wish of
and went in
mine.
different directions.
Jiang Qin stretched
Everyone
out his
in the
hand
Dragon
to help
Hall
Yang
was
Yu
the
up.
best of the best.
He was
the
very
best of the
clear
best.
that even if the Great
Every
Qian
one of them
Empire
could hold
didn't
their
suffer
own in the
today,
miniature
the
Fengqi
decisive
world.
battle between him and the northern and southern dynasties would happen sooner or later. To Jiang Qin he had to send everyone away because he came with a mission. Yan Qin only when he was alone could he use the talisman to search for the ancient elephant bloodline. Searching for the ancient elephant bloodline was the most important thing in the miniature feng shui world, and also the most important thing for Jiang Qin to do in the feng shui immortal court. All the training had to be thrown to the back of his mind. About him during this Nothing was more important than the ancient elephant bloodline. My injuries aren't serious. Just as Jiang Qin was about to take out the talisman, very soon I will be able to break through to the immortal sovereign realm. Jiang Qin immediately turned his gaze towards the direction of the talisman. You wanted to break through to the immortal sovereign realm. He and the northern and southern dynasties were already at the same level. Trembles were everywhere. Now that the northern and southern dynasties had broken through to the immortal sovereign realm, Jiang Qin's perception was very sharp. I'm also going to break told him that there must be something in the dark. I've gained a lot from the decisive battle now with the northern and southern dynasties. Killing the northern and southern dynasties is equivalent to kicking out the biggest obstacle in my path. In this way, my thoughts will be clear and I can break through to the half-step sovereign realm. Chapter 2026. Jiang Qin said. Jiang Qin had never doubted time was indeed great. The great soul in the northern and southern dynasties would obtain great benefits. If it was just an ordinary spatial tremor, he would never have felt any change in his 33rd level later. You guard the outside swayed and came to the place where the spatial tremor was.
Terrifying soul power gushed out of his body like a tide. At this moment, 3 or 4 sweeping the void around, tyrannical chi waves suddenly drifted from the sky. However, Jiang Qin arriving above did not believe that it was just a momentary spiritual coincidence. Then for silhouettes he was never suspicious. The 4 of them had must be someone in the dark, and in that instant, the person was the leader was an old man whose cultivation base had reached the terrifying but to take this matter to heart realm, because Heisha was the one with the highest cultivation among those who entered the miniature Fengqi world this time. In the entire ethereal immortal domain, could not pose any threat to the immortal court, and it was even more impossible for him to observe power in the dark without being noticed. Jiang Qin did not give up. The people of the immortal court for mysterious existence in the dark, but they know that you have returned so quickly. It was as if the ripple just now was just a ripple that he was searching for. Not only that, but they also know that their people were killed by you and me. Since he could not this time, they have sent the other party was not willing to show up. It seems like they are taking this matter seriously. Time here. The corner of Jiang Qin's mouth revealed a trace of attention to. If it was in the past, subsequently, Jiang Qin would definitely show a worried expression when a 4th grade great sovereign elemental domain would definitely turn around and run him from the outside world. But now, Jiang Qin had no intention of running elemental domain. Even if a 5th had reached great sovereign wanted to investigate Jiang Qin's situation, he was only a step away from advancing to the 3rd great sovereign realm. Jiang Qin with the Huang Dog's current cultivation talisman appeared in his hand. It would be a piece of cake for him to fight against an ordinary talisman that Heaven Sovereign asked Han Feng to pass to him. Therefore, the 4 people sent by whether or not he could find the ancient elephant bloodline depended on this spiritual talisman. Hurry up and kneel to your death. A divine sense was someone had already locked onto Jiang Qin and yelled furiously. The spiritual talisman suddenly jumped violently in Jiang Qin's hand, what a powerful emitting a buzzing sound. Motherfucker. Then the talisman seemed to come to life. Really relentless. The ancient picture on it disappeared and a red line appeared. The line was like a swimming fish. The opponent's strength is spinning on the talisman at a very fast speed. Not to mention that young Master Jiang Qin knew that the talisman was searching for traces of the ancient elephant even if he's in his peak state. The red line on it was used to find the direction. The crowd of great Qin Empire became restless in one direction. Each of their faces revealed a worried expression. Jiang Qin quickly flew in the direction indicated by the red line. They couldn't help but worry. Jiang Qin's speed was extremely fast. The barren mountains below him constantly flitted past. Before the first wave subsided, another wave rose. The ground to an inch. This wave was much more powerful than the previous one. An earth-shattering roar sounded in front of him. The northern and southern dynasties, a black wave of chi appeared out of thin air, and a huge black hole appeared 300 feet in front of Jiang Qin. However, the people of Great Qin Empire knew that it was not difficult to find that it was not a black hole at all, never end until one of them was dead. The immortal court had always wanted to kill Jiang Qin, but they couldn't find a chance to do so. In front of him now that Jiang Qin had finally shown up, the immortal court wouldn't give Jiang Qin any chance of a half-step great sovereign. That's why they sent it immediately launched an attack to kill Jiang Qin. It opened its bloody mouth and wanted to swallow the human in one bite. Don't disturb me and Xiao Yu's advancement. It was a pity that the demon was too unlucky to have run into Jiang Qin. Don't worry, they're just a bunch of clowns. Facing the huge mouth of the demon, if it was in the past, he might be worried about a 4th grade great sovereign. Sword appeared in his hand, a 4th grade great sovereign was nothing else like a meteor. Moreover, the 4th grade great sovereign in front of him had just devil's head into 4th grade great sovereign realm. He rushed out from the demonic devil's cultivation base was already the demonic devil let out a blood-curdling screech as its head exploded into the 3rd grade great sovereign realm anytime. Therefore, even though it was difficult for the Huang Dog to kill a 4th grade sovereign, regardless of what kind of demon suppressing a 5th grade great sovereign, torn open on the Zulong Tower, and a terrifying devouring power gushed out only then could the Huang Dog be suppressed. The 100-meter-tall behemoth was completely swallowed by the Zulong Tower in the blink of an eye, and entered the 33rd floor. The demons here were absolute with their current state. They could complete their advancement within an hour. Allowed Jiang Qin to condense half of the dragon marks on the 58th floor of the Zulong Tower. Not only that, sovereigns of the immortal court's facial expression changed dragon marks, increasing the number of dragon marks in his body to 1 million. Stretched out his hand to grab the place where Jiang Qin disappeared. Closer to becoming a true great sovereign. Jiang Qin was planning to condense another 40,000 dragon marks to reach 1,700,000. And Jiang Qin's cultivation could directly break through to become a true great sovereign. Decisively looks like I need to set a new goal for this trip to the miniature Fengqi world. The corner of Jiang Qin's mouth revealed a trace of a smile. Into the giant his ultimate goal in coming to the miniature Fengqi world was the ancient elephant. The heavens and earth shook. Now he needed to make use of the environment of the miniature Fengqi world to help himself. The giant palm was also shattered. The powerful attack of a 3rd grade sovereign was easily blocked by considered to have advanced to a truly high level. Moreover, according to Jiang Qin's plan, he would attract an extremely terrifying heavenly tribulation when he broke through to the great sovereign realm. That's right. Previously, we were still worried the immortal Chen was a match for the northern and southern dynasties.
He did not
However, we neglected
the
the terrifying strength of
this
the
itself
Huang
was
dog.
very unusual.
I'm afraid that the
Jiang
northern
Chen
and
could
southern
sense that there
dynasties
would
are no
definitely
match
be a
for him.
heavenly tribulation when he
What's he?
broke through to the
Jiang
great
Chen
sovereign
must have
realm,
gone into
and
seclusion
the power
to
of the
cultivate.
heavenly tribulation
I
would
wonder
be
if the Huang
unimaginably
dog can
terrifying.
withstand the great
As the
sovereigns
saying
of the
goes,
immortal
good
court.
preparation is the key to
What
success.
a powerful dog.
This time,
the
the heavenly
dog's
tribulation
attack
would also
immediately
be
attracted
well
the attention of the
The
experts
heavenly
of the immortal
tribulations
court.
of the immortal
This
venerables and
dog's hands
half-step
are also
sovereigns would
stained
be
with the blood
integrated
of our
together
immortal
with the great
court.
sovereign realm.
Let's kill him first.
Jiang Chen couldn't
I have
imagine
sealed
to
the
what
entire
extent he
void
couldn't
here.
control the
Jiang
legendary
Chen won't be able
terrifying
to
sovereign
escape.
tribulation.
The fourth
But
great
Jiang Chen would
sovereign said.
absolutely not be
His
afraid of
tone
it.
was incomparably
Jiang
confident.
Chen was very
It
experienced
seemed like
in
he was
crossing
certain that he could
tribulations.
defeat Jiang Chen
Moreover,
and the Huang
Jiang
dog.
Chen had already
He had
developed a
already
strong
made
immunity
sufficient
towards the
preparations
heavenly
before
tribulation.
coming here.
Moreover,
This
with
dog
the
is
powerful
already a
cheating
second
tool of
grade
the
demon
Zulong
sovereign.
Tower,
No
let
matter
me
how
kill him.
powerful the heavenly
The third
tribulation
great
was,
sovereign
it
who
wouldn't be a
attacked
problem
earlier
for
shook his
him.
chi and lunged at the
Moreover,
Huang
under the
dog
impact
again.
of the heavenly
The Huang
tribulation,
dog grew a pair
Jiang
of wings
Chen's
on his
cultivation
back.
would directly break
He
through
turned
to the
into a
second
ray of
great
lightning and
sovereign
soared to the
realm,
sky,
and would no longer
an
linger around
unparalleled
the
might
first
of a
great
great
sovereign
sovereign
was
realm.
unleashed. His eyes sparkled with golden light. His entire body was filled with a majestic aura. A third grade great sovereign was nothing in his eyes. Chapter 2027.
Damn dog, how dare you
The
go
vast
against
valley
the
was
immortal
filled
court
with
again
dense
and
baleful
again,
killing
chi.
our geniuses
In
and
terms
elders.
of quality and
Today
density,
I will make
the
you pay with your
baleful
blood.
chi here was definitely
The third
top-notch.
grade great sovereign
It was
said
enough
in
to
an
pose a
incomparably
serious threat
domineering
to
manner.
immortal venerables.
His murderous
The higher
intent
the
soared
grade
to
of
the
the
sky.
baleful chi,
It
the
seemed
more
like he
Jiang
was
Chen
certain
liked
that he
it.
could defeat
Because
the
the
Huang
higher
dog.
the grade of the
After all,
baleful
he was a
chi,
third
the more
great
helpful it would be
sovereign.
to him.
His
Just like
powerful
how the
cultivation
Zulong Tower
base had
devoured
given him
the
great
corpses of those
demonic devils.
With such confidence,
the higher the
he
grade
did not
of the
put the
demonic
Huang
devil,
dog in his
the
eyes
more
at
helpful
all.
it would be to the Zulong
Unfortunately,
Tower.
those
There
who
was no doubt
underestimated
about
the
this.
Huang dog had
According
always
to the
ended up
guidance
in a
of the
miserable
talisman,
state.
the ancient
third
elephant
grade great
bloodline
sovereign
was in
was
no
no
exception.
Jiang
Go to
Chen
hell.
didn't care too much.
The Huang dog
He simply
flapped his
absorbed
wings
all the
without saying a
baleful
word.
chi into the Zulong
His
Tower
majestic
to help
body
the Zulong
instantly
Tower
turned
advance.
into a ray of
If the
dazzling
ancient
golden
elephant
light.
bloodline was hidden
Lightning
in the
flashed
baleful
on his
chi,
head. It would
the
be
dragon
better if it
horn
was
on his
directly
glabella
absorbed
flickered
by
as
the
he lunged
ancestral
towards
dragon.
the third grade
This would
great
save
sovereign.
Jiang Chen a lot
The
of
Huang
trouble.
dog's speed
If
was
the
too
ancient
fast.
elephant bloodline
He
was
arrived in
absorbed
front
into
of
the
his
Zulong
opponent
Tower,
in the blink of an eye.
Jiang Chen would be
You're
able to
courting
detect
death.
it immediately. The third great sovereign stretched
Without
out his
any
big
hesitation,
hand and slapped the
Jiang
Huang
Chen
dog's
opened
head.
the door of the Zulong
Obviously,
Tower.
this third
The
great
huge
sovereign
door
did
turned
not
into
know
a
the
black
true
hole
terror
with
of
a
the
radius
Huang
of
dog.
30 meters.
Just like the others, he
terrifying
thought that the
devouring
Huang
force
dog was
gushed
stupid
out from
enough
the
to
Zulong
attack
Tower.
with his head. The agitated
Whether it was a
baleful
human
Yin
or a
Chi
demon
immediately
beast,
surged
the
towards
head
the
was the
Zulong
most
Tower like
vulnerable
a
part.
tide. Attacking
Absorbing
with
the
one's head
baleful
was
Yin
no
Chi
crazily was a
courting
suicidal
death.
method. In the entire
immortal
great
world,
sovereign's
perhaps
palm
only
fiercely
Jiang
slapped
Chen
the
would
Huang
dare to
dog's
do
head.
this.
It should
Such
be
a
said
scene
that
was
the
too
Huang
grand.
dog's head
If
slammed
outsiders
into
were
the
to
third
see it,
great
they would
sovereign's
definitely
palm.
be shocked
Because
to
the
the
result
extreme
would
and
might
very
even be
miserable.
scared out of their wits.
The violent energy
Absorbing
tore the
all the
void
dark
apart.
Yin Chi in the
Under
entire
the
valley
impact
was
of
the
the
Huang
huge
dog's
project
head
in itself,
the third
but with
great
the Zulong
sovereign's
Tower,
arm was
it wouldn't
shattered
take
and
too much
turned
time
into
no
a
matter
mist
how
of blood.
huge the project was.
According to
Jiang
Jiang
Chen's
Chen's estimation,
facial
it would
expression
take at
changed
most 20
drastically.
minutes for the Zulong
He
Tower to
exclaimed as he
absorb
felt
all
the
the dark
intense
Yin
pain
Chi
from
here.
his broken arm.
With the energy
He looked at
conversion
the
of the
Huang
dark
dog
Yin
as
Chi,
if he was looking
the
at a
59th
ghost.
floor of the
For a
Zulong
great
Tower would be
sovereign,
completely
losing an
condensed,
arm wasn't a
and Jiang
serious
Chen
injury.
himself would gain more
It wasn't
benefits.
difficult for a great
Rumble,
sovereign to regrow
the
an
ancestral
arm.
dragon pagoda
However, the
crazily
shock in his
devoured
heart
the
had reached
baleful
an
Yin
extreme
Chi,
point,
creating a
It was too
rumbling
shocking.
sound like thunder.
He had never seen
20
such a
minutes
mighty
later,
head.
all the
More
baleful
importantly,
Yin
he
Chi
was
in
the
the
third
valley had been
great
completely
sovereign.
refined
A
and
dignified
absorbed by the
third
Zulong
great
Tower.
sovereign was no
All
match
the
for a
baleful
second
Yin
grade
Chi
demon
had been
sovereign.
transformed into
Not
pure
only
energy.
was he not a match
Just
for
as
the third
Jiang
grade
Chen
great
expected,
sovereign,
not
he
only
couldn't
had the
even withstand a
58th floor
single
of the
blow from
Zulong
the
Tower
third
been
grade great
completely
sovereign.
condensed.
Oh
But
my
the
God,
59th
this
floor
dog's
had
head
also
is
been
really having
completely
to find.
condensed.
Have you guys forgotten that the Huang Dog's strongest point is his head? It wasn't far from the divine transformation of the Zulong Tower. However, I have never imagined that even a third great sovereign couldn't defeat him. Jiang Chen had getting more and more powerful. With the Huang Dog by 33 times, like it'll be difficult for the immortal court to kill Jiang Chen today. According to the instructions on the Zulong Tower, as long as the 66th floor was emotions were different from the second transformation of the Zulong Tower, they were able to bring more benefits to Jiang Chen. As for the benefits of the gaining the upper hand, Big Jiang Chen had always been looking and attacked again at the speed of lightning. The 59th giving his opponent any chance to react at all. Condensed. The dog head, which was shining brightly, that I have once again shot toward his tower, has helped me condense another 20,000 dragon marks. The third making my combat power even stronger than before. A combat sword appeared in his hand away from becoming a great Huang Dog's head. Once I find the ancient elephant bloodline, I'll find a way to break through to the true great sovereign realm in this miniature great sovereign weapon. Jiang Chen had a smile on his face. There was no longer enemies that he encountered were getting stronger and the troubles were getting bigger and bigger. Didn't even change his attack catastrophe when facing his opponent's combat. At this time, Jiang Chen was still using his invincible cultivation to ram his way forward, which was very frightening. He wanted to improve himself at all costs. Countless spectators couldn't help but grin, guessing how hard this dog's head was.
Only in this way he would be able to deal with everything that was going to happen in the future. Now it had to withstand the opponent's combat sword. Great immortal courts, one should know that it was a sovereign weapon, or the impending second catastrophe. No one knew how terrifying Jiang Chen must be fully prepared for all of them. As a matter of fact, feeling that his strength was rising continuously, was a divine weapon. Jiang Chen's confidence, as his cultivation base continued to increase, without the cover of his head became more and more terrifying. The appearance of the valley was completely revealed. De Huang Dog's head was much more powerful than any ordinary great sovereign weapon. There was a lake at the bottom that had dried up for God knows how many years. Great sovereign's combat sword. It was surrounded by black barren mountains. There was no doubt about it. The stone walls above were also filled with scars caused by the evil this collision, as if it had been eroded by his head stretched out. The whole place gave off a very desolate and depressing feeling. Wherever it passed, the void would shatter. Probed around, trying to find traces of the ancient elephant bloodline. De Huang Dog's head collided he couldn't find anything after looking around. A shocking scene appeared found many caves on the stone walls around the sovereign weapon didn't leave a scratch on the dog's head. It shouldn't be possible. It couldn't withstand the everything in the miniature Feng-Chi world. The combat sword by Star Sovereign. Third-grade great Although these caves are covered by the evil Yin-Chi, the combat sword was stopped Star Sovereign from probing. And the third-grade great sovereign's remaining hand that was holding the sword was almost shattered. Jiang Chen thought. Blood spurting out from his mouth. He turned his palm and the spiritual talisman appeared again with lightning speed. Jiang Chen instilled his divine sense into the spiritual talisman again. This time, the dog's head collided with the third-grade let out a buzzing sound again and the consequences were imaginable. The red line that had disappeared previously also didn't even have the time to scream. The red line rotated violently and the speed of rotation was much faster than before. Were heard. Jiang Chen whether it was the people of the Great Chen Empire or the immortal cave every time all of them widened their eyes. This discovery made Jiang Chen see hope immediately. It was too shocking. He had reason to believe that the ancient elephant bloodline must be hidden in one of the caves here. Endless the reason why Star Sovereign couldn't find it was probably because he didn't have the spiritual talisman because he had never thought that this dog would be this terrifying. He had to rely on the dog was a third-grade great sovereign. There was no doubt about this. This was also Sky Sovereign's hidden trick. Sovereign. If Sky Sovereign didn't have the dog, he wouldn't be a problem to escape. Moreover, who would have thought that a third-grade Sky Sovereign would even have the chance to escape behind? He was infuriated because he saw a third-grade such an important being killed right in front of his eyes. Intact, and he didn't even have the chance to help. Suddenly, the red line so fast that he didn't even have the chance to react. As a matter of fact, there was a huge gap between the third-grade great sovereign and Big Yellow. It was normal for the third-grade great sovereign to be killed more violently. Of the third-grade great sovereign almost jumped out. Was third-grade here. The great sovereign's face was filled with third-grade sovereign. The guidance of the spiritual talisman would never be wrong. If he didn't underestimate his enemy, this cave looked completely different from the other caves. Wouldn't have died so easily. If the third-grade great sovereign didn't put the more ordinary in his eyes and chose not to attract people's attention, if it wasn't hard for him to keep his talisman, similarly, if the fourth-grade great sovereign wasn't too confident was about to step the immortal court, there was a slight fluctuation in the void behind him. He wouldn't have had the chance to help. This fluctuation was very subtle. This dog is especially in the valley that had just been ravaged by the ancestral dragon. The second-grade great sovereign said with an extremely ugly expression, but Jiang Chen still managed to catch it. When they first arrived, Jiang Chen's eyes were in high spirits and didn't put Jiang Chen and De Huang Dog in their eyes. But now all of their confidence was shattered. Even a third-grade great sovereign was instantly killed by De Huang Dog. Jiang Chen snorted coldly, with his then turned around and walked into the cultivation base. No matter who was in the dark, Jiang Chen would not be afraid. Let me kill him. Zulong Tower as Elder a self-defense expression was gloomy. He only needed to rely on the talisman to find the location of the ancient elephant. At this moment, for the person in the dark, he would appear sooner or later. Feeling a little However, the ancient elephant bloodline could not be delayed. Third-grade great sovereign take action himself. If the mysterious person in the dark paid attention to him and delayed the search for the ancient elephant bloodline, one should know that the immortal court had spent countless resources to nurture a third-grade great sovereign. Kept flying into the depths of the third-grade great sovereign. The cave was not big, but it was very long. Damn dog, know how far pay a hefty price for what Jiang Chen walked for hundreds of miles and finally reached the end of the cave. What price? Unfortunately, you what appeared in front of Jiang Chen was a dark stone wall. I'll let you have a taste of Master Dog's invincible cave had come to an end, and there was no path in front of him. And turned his body. Jiang Chen's expression did not change. Elder Fong. He knew there must be something fishy. Widened when he saw the huge space at the end of the passage. He was dumbfounded. It would be abnormal for the ancient elephant bloodline to be enraged, because if it was so easy to hide the ancient action of raising his but high up to face him was a humiliation. He would have found it long ago. Serious humiliation. Why would he wait for Jiang Chen to find it? What the hell is De Huang doing? At this moment, what kind of talisman in Jiang Chen's hand automatically floated out? De Huang is humiliating his opponent. The light on the talisman began to become extremely dark. The dog's head is already became the same color as the stone wall in front of him. Could it be that he can attack his butt too? Jiang Chen paid close attention to the front.
The Huang dog talisman rushed toward the stone wall, and in the end, it actually merged with a pattern. If it was someone who was really familiar with Big Yellow, he or she would definitely stay far away from this pattern on the stone wall. It was impossible for them to be like Elder Fong and stand still behind Big Yellow in front of him. Suddenly this was simply courting death, and a door appeared. Just when everyone thought that Big Yellow was just humiliating Elder Fong with this action, this is connected to a different space, and the talisman is the key to open the space. Everyone was dumbfounded. It is so well hidden, no wonder Star Massive green air spurted out from the Huang dog's back door. Jianghu said with a smile, and turned into countless waves of air. He entered the door. Jianghu guessed that this space must have been personally shrouded by the green wave without any warning. The ancient elephant bloodline must be in this space. After entering the void portal, Jianghu's spiritual vomited painfully and cursed loudly. That had disappeared. This was the most painful thing in life. At the same time, the illusory space portal began to be described as invincible. Just as the door was about to close, heaven defined to the point that even a fourth-grade great sovereign was extremely fast. Oh my God, there's such a move. I finally couldn't help but show up. I can smell the smell of a bad sweet potato from so far away. He had closed the door as soon as possible to prevent the hidden person from breaking in. Image was completely ruined. He hadn't expected the other party to be so fast. It's not easy for him to be in such a sorry state. Defend against it. The black-clothed man was fast, the great Shen Empire, but Jianghu was even faster. This in the blink of an eye, could always bring them surprises. The black-clothed man. What a pity for a fourth-grade great the other party did not hide anymore. Standing in front of Jianghu was a black-clothed man. Rumble. He looked to be in his super strong airway, body was filled with terrifying chi. His cultivation base had reached the terrifying third-grade sovereign to disperse the green airflow. Moreover, he was very good at concealing himself, which was why Jianghu could not find him out from the darkness. There were still remnants of vomit at the corner of his mouth. This space wasn't big, it was only a dozen miles in radius. Perhaps only the surroundings were filled with spatial chi, and there was nothing, not even land under their feet. Damn dog, at this moment, Jianghu and the black-clothed man looked at the sky at the same time. His body carried a violent energy as he lunged towards Big Yellow crazily. Even though they were far away from it, they could still feel the powerful chi from the crystal ball. He had never been humiliated like this before. Outside, there was a great humiliation. There were shadows of the desolate ancient elephant Master Dog's continuously. Wonderful? The Huang dog laughed. He was fearless and rushed towards Elder Fong's attack with his dog head. The ancient elephant bloodline was in the crystal ball. Any harm to Elder Fong. The reason why Jianghu and the black-clothed man came here was to obtain the ancient elephant sovereign with just a fart. Jianghu looked at the black-clothed man from top to bottom. The Huang dog had already achieved his goal as long as he could discuss from the immortal court. Rumble. But after sensing once again Big Yellow's head collided with Elder Fong's head violently. Moreover, shocking scene happened again. The black-clothed man gave him a very familiar feeling. Big Yellow's head was. But Elder Fong's eyes glowed with two strange cultivation base couldn't hurt him at all. He looked at the black-clothed man and said, Elder Fong couldn't hurt from the barbarian world. It wasn't easy for the Huang dog to hurt. The chi from the black-clothed man was barbaric and evil. There was a fundamental difference between a very great sovereign and a fourth-grade great sovereign. The desolate ancient land. Although great sovereigns were divided into 9 levels, so he was very familiar with their chi and low levels. The black-clothed man was stunned when he saw that the other party could recognize to the low level. Obviously, this situation was out of his expectation. To the middle level. You can see through my identity. Great sovereign belonged to the high level. Man asked with a frown. The leap from third-grade great sovereign to fourth-grade great sovereign was equivalent to the leap from low to high level. Jianghu said that he could imagine the difference between the barbarian world. Therefore, the Huang dog imaginable that a new catastrophe was about to befall the immortal world. But it was extremely difficult for him to kill a fourth-grade great sovereign of the barbarian world in front of him. Had a strange movement technique and was good at hiding. It wouldn't be a problem for him to fight. That was why he was able to hide from everyone, including Feng Jingyang. In other words, as long as the Huang dog was here, it would be almost impossible for Elder Fong to kill Jianghu. This is the bloodline of the desolate unless a powerful fifth-grade great barbarian elephant is the orthodox bloodline of our barbarian race. It does not belong to the immortal world. I came here today to take back what belongs to the barbarian world. They were constantly colliding and killing each other. The black-clothed man looked at the crystal ball flying in all directions and said as a matter of fact, black holes appeared in the barbarian race. Horrifying airwaves kept gushing out from the black bloodline of the ancient barbarian race has almost disappeared to look like the end of the world. You barbarian world are just the people of the great Shen Empire were dumbfounded. You are no different from devils. They had never seen such an exciting battle scene in their lives. Bloodline of the desolate everyone was shocked by the Huang dog's ferocity. Sneered. Too ferocious. It seemed that the barbarian world had long set their eyes on the simply immortal court. Even they knew that there was the bloodline can't do anything ancient elephant here. One is more abnormal than the other. Now it seemed that court has never gained any advantage in the hands of Jianghu, and the other party already knew about it. That's right. When the miniature geniuses and elders had died, the black-clothed man had been following him secretly. Was killed by the Huang dog. He only showed himself after the opening of this space. If Jianghu and the Huang dog continued that the other party without any limit his intelligence. I'm afraid that the immortal court won't even have a chance to take revenge by the other party. They might even face a great crisis. How dare you insult our barbarian race? It's not impossible. You're courting death. Jianghu has created too many miracles. When he first entered Genius Prefecture, the tone of the black-clothed man instantly became extremely cold, not concealing his strong killing intent. He has grown to such an extent in such a short period of time. He has saved Great Qin Empire several times in a row. Let's see if you have the ability to do so. The people of Great Qin Empire sighed. Face was cold. When Jiang Qin was recruited by Yang Bufan into Genius Sovereign Genius, who would have thought that the unknown genius of the immortal would have such great achievements in such a short man was an evil barbarian. The fierce battle continued. Jiang Qin's means could completely restrain the Huang Dog and Elder Fang, causing the black climax for half an hour, but there was still no winner. This situation had been proven in the desolate signs of weakness. Therefore, Jiang Qin was not afraid of the black-clothed man at all. His chi was even stronger than before. If he could kill and completely refine a third-grade great sovereign evil barbarian, match for not only could the Zulong Tower condense another 2 floors, terrifying. His cultivation base would also break through to the great sovereign realm. We're here to kill Jiang Qin today, but Elder Fang is being obstructed by a dog. Jiang Qin is nowhere to be found, and we've lost a third-grade great 2029. The second great sovereign who had been watching the battle arrival was like a gift to him. It seems like we have to do something. Jiang Qin was going to break through to the immortal sovereign realm, so what are you going to do to prepare for it? That person asked. Jie. Now that Elder Fang is entangled with the Huang Dog and Jiang Qin is hiding, if that's the case, we might as well attack the first and take away the ancient elephant bloodline out. I might as well tell you that as long as I bring the ancient elephant bloodline to the mortal court after all, it'll be the doomsday of the immortal court. Isn't this inappropriate? The black man laughed evilly. We can't care about that now. Jiang Qin in his eyes at all. We must kill Jiang Qin today. It was normal as he was a third grade more chances to grow. Why would he put a discussion? The 2 second-grade great sovereigns decided to attack the people of Great Qin away the ancient elephant bloodline. Although it would damage the reputation and image of the immortal court today, they had no other choice in order to force Jiang Qin out. Energy rushed out of his body as he displayed the dragon transformation. The black-clothed man was right. One of the second-grade great sovereigns' elephant bloodline was the same as the barbarian god bloodline of the immortal court are too shameless to use. Both of them were extremely important to the barbarian race. Someone immediately cursed. The only difference was that the immortal court barbarian god bloodline needed to be nurtured. It seems that Jiang Qin is determined not to come out. While the desolate ancient elephant bloodline could be used to kill the emperor of Great Qin Empire. As long as the black-clothed man brought the bloodline back to the barbarian revealed a ruthless expression. The barbarian race would have a true pinnacle expert, locked onto possibly surpassing the immortal realm. Without giving Xianxia any chance to react, the immortal world would not be able to resist the invasion of the evil barbarian race. Xianxia knew that no matter how powerful your transformation skill is, instantly turned make up for the difference in cultivation. Under the pressure in front of me, you can only stretch your neck and wait to be killed. He couldn't even move his body. The black-clothed man said, just a trace of the opponent's chi was enough to completely control him. Rushed out from his body. There was a gap that couldn't be forming a storm that swept towards Jiang Qin. Was almost certain that as long as the big hand pressed down on him, he would definitely die. Evil chi. He wouldn't even have a chance to survive. Jiang Qin was stunned. Just when Xianxia facing the black evil energy storm, an explosion was heard. Jiang Qin revealed a faint smile. Then everyone saw from the momentum of the opponent's attack, the terrifying blood-red dragon claw even accurately collided with the big hand formed by the second-grade great sovereign. Unfortunately, the black-clothed man's palm that originally possessed an extremely strong offensive power was completely destroyed by Jiang Qin's attack. Voila! In the face of his opponent's energy attack, Jiang Qin's counterattack was very simple. As soon as possible, there was a fire dragon seal. Endless troubles in the future. His fire dragon was formed by the fusion of 5 types of supreme flames. From Xiangxu's point of view, although Jiang Qin had gained another 30,000 dragon marks, they were only arriving at the miniature and a second-grade demon sovereign. His combat strength had increased by a lot, was nothing to the immortal for him to deal with the black-clothed man. If a 5th-grade great sovereign appeared in the immortal court, dragon roared, Jiang Qin wouldn't be able to leave even if he wanted to. The moment the fire dragon appeared, the grudge between me and the immortal black-clothed man had unleashed seemed to have met its natural enemy. If I leave now, the immortal court will definitely wither, and even its attack power was reduced by half. At that time, they might use Great Ferocious Beast to threaten me just like how the northern and southern dynasties did. In the blink of an eye, in that case, it's better to settle this once and for all. Completely shattered by Jiang Qin's fire dragon. In the past, he wasn't worried that the immortal court would attack Great Qin Empire. The black-clothed man cried out in surprise. After all, the immortal court also cared about their reputation. However, the second grade filled with sovereign who wanted to kill the emperor saw the Great Qin Empire had made Jiang Qin understand the immortal had a great determination to kill him. It was a natural enemy that could restrain the origin of this evil his dignity and reputation. Under such extreme restraint, Great Qin Empire would suffer a disaster because of his strength. This wasn't something that Jiang Qin wanted to see. His battle strength. Instead of that, this kind of battle was the most once and for all. Even the supreme expert's mind would send out more powerful figures later. Jiang Qin didn't know how to deal with them. In a real battle, he used the great divination art to predict that there would be a great turning point to be very serious. Therefore, he might as well make use of this opportunity to make a decision with the immortal court. No matter what the final result would be, the entire barbarian Qin Empire would be separated. I've said it before, you won't be able to take away the ancient elephant bloodline to the Nanbei family. You won't even be able to take away your own life.
As long as the immortal court didn't take action, the power of his domain suddenly surged out from his body. Without any danger. The huge 5 elements domain directly covered the entire space, came to including the black-clothed man. He wanted to say something, but was stopped by Jiang hiding with a wave of his hand. At escaping. King Fan, since he already knew his opponent's advantage, I've already made up my mind. Naturally had to make ample preparations. There's no need to be polite. He could not give his opponent any chance to escape. Yang Bufan let out a sigh and no longer spoke. Jiang Chen completely regarded his opponent's character too well. Brat, since he had already made up his mind, Jiang Chen would never change his mind. You're only a half knew that everyone in Great Qin Empire between our cultivations is something that you can't make up for. But he didn't. Even if this martial emperor was only able to unleash half of his strength, I can still kill you to have such a brother in his life. The black-clothed man not long after that, a figure appeared in the sky above Genius Prefecture. He once again revealed his vicious side. It was an old man. He had reason to believe that even if he could only unleash half of his strength, very long, killing a half emperor would still be a piece of cake. He was wearing a white robe, giving off the feeling of an immortal. Jiang Chen let out a loud shout. As soon as the old man appeared, the entire Genius Prefecture this time he unleashed 3 fire dragons. Countless gazes looked over and landed on the old man, and they were hovering in the air. Sovereign. They flew towards the man in black from 3 different directions. This old man didn't look like a simple character. Jiang Chen's eyes lit up. He was actually nothing was better than the fire dragon seal to deal with an evil barbarian. Jiang Chen and Huang Dog couldn't fight against an expert of this level. The black-clothed man also sensed the terror of the fire dragon seal. What should we do next? That terror was not only due to the suppression of attributes, offending the immortal terrifying energy contained in the fire dragon seal. There are too many great sovereigns in the immortal terrifying energy that was enough to contend against turn misfortune into fortune. The black-clothed man did not dare to be careless and immediately used his strongest everyone to worry. Rumble. The situation had become tense again. Filled with barbaric power. Seeing the arrival of the old man, like a huge black mountain, immediately pressed down on the black dragon and approached the old man. The 3 fire dragons roared continuously. Chapter 2011. Their heads and tails connected, Elder Wu, this dog forming a huge circle that completely surrounded one of our third-grade great sovereigns. Endless flames spread, even I am no match for him. Huge fist to sink into a sea of fire. To ask Elder Wu for help. Under Jiang Chen's control, his the 3 fire dragons exploded at the same time. He said that he was no match for Jiang Chen. Flames and this was an incomparably unimaginable destructive but there was nothing he could do about even it. Even the divine barbarian sovereign fist that could destroy the heavens and earth could not withstand the impact of the fire dragon. His name was burnt to ashes on the spot. He had a great reputation in the immortal court. The divine barbarian sovereign fist was destroyed. Wu Yuanyang's gaze fell on the black-clothed man also suffered a huge injury. His eyes were a little cold, almost without concealing his killing intent. His face turned extremely ugly and he retreated a dozen steps before he could stabilize his body. I don't want to get involved in this. How could a half-emperor have such a powerful combat strength? He looked down from above, judging everyone with the attitude of a superior. He, a third-grade barbarian sovereign, the fate of defeated by a half-emperor dog was completely in his hands. This was a reality that he could not even dream of. For them to resist. At this moment, it was already a great honor for Jiang Chen and the Huang dog to have him personally come forward. The difference between his aura and the beginning was not just Wu Yuanyang's words. I've said it before, you can't escape. Kid, what are you laughing at? Wu Yuanyang looked at Jiang Chen. I'm laughing at your strong sense of superiority. Chapter 20. Your immortal court has always put yourself high and mighty, ferocious, but in the eyes of Jiang Chen, you guys are black-clothed man. The enmity between us started in the golden horizon, any chance to breathe. But at that time, when your terrifying fire dragon brought along an not allowed to resist fire and besiege the black-clothed man from different directions, the immortal court are important. I don't believe that I can't defeat a puny, there is no such logic in the immortal world. I naturally have to resist when you guys want to kill me. His body began to change greatly, kill me and turning into a monster that was more than 30 meters tall. This only shows that you guys are not strong enough. The monster's face was extremely ferocious and his body was covered with black scales. Even though he was facing a 5th-grade great sovereign, very scary. He wasn't afraid at all. This was not the first time that Jiang Chen saw the true form of an evil barbarian, so he was not surprised at all. I don't like people who haggle. The current barbarian world had already broken away from the true barbarian gods and accept your punishment. They were no different from my hands immediately. Therefore, Jiang Chen would not show any mercy to such an evil barbarian. Domineering manner. The evil barbarian roared madly. He wouldn't even bother to deal with a half-blade appeared in his hand. If it wasn't because Jiang Chen and the Huang dog were too difficult to deal with, he wouldn't have appeared here. He then slashed towards the fire dragon and the sea of fire. My life is in my own hands. The entire spatial zone was almost manipulated by the immortal court. This spatial zone was created by Heaven's sovereign in the past. I will still fight with my life. That's why it was indestructible. Jiang Chen's tone was calm, the spatial zone but there was an unshakable determination between Jiang Chen and a third-grade court had made a mistake by trying to manipulate and control Jiang Chen's race were very strong. Kid, since you refuse to toast only to be forced to drink sovereign in front of him, then I won't be courteous. He was still able to unleash such a powerful attack even though he was heavily injured.
This strong wave of chi explosive power was not something any ordinary human could compare with. Great sovereign. The huge black barbarian reached out a huge battle blade of the heavens immediately turned into a peerless cage, the heavens and everything that stood in its way. This was a prison. Even the flames were split into half. Great sovereign. Boy, it could even trap the void, barbarian race to have such a heaven-defying figure. Today, I will kill you to remove the future trouble for our barbarian race. Even if he were to use his dragon transformation, he wouldn't be able to withstand it at all. He was like a peerless giant, rumble, carrying an unparalleled battle another huge slaughtering everything in his way. This time it was a scarlet golden hand. It struck the cage that Wu Yuanyang had conjured and destroyed any more time. Since his opponent had turned into his true form and displayed his divination art to predict that there would not be for the better today. That was why he chose to confront Wu Yuanyang as Jiang Qin transformed into a true blood dragon. A massive expression change might spread out, and at the same time, to be able to appear here without a sound and destroy his attack in one move, the newcomer must be a blink of an eye. It had perfectly fused with the blood dragon. This with me, Feng Jingyang, fusion of dragon and sword was Jiang Chen's most powerful voice as loud as a bell rang out from the void. When he transformed into a true dragon, after that, it was time for Jiang Chen to display his most powerful killer move. As if he was taking a stroll in a park. And when he displayed this move, in the blink of an eye, he was already in front of Jiang Chen. The newcomer's bearing and aura were not any weaker than Wu Yuanyang. He might even be stronger than Wu Yuanyang, and the destructive power that erupted from them was unimaginable. Jiang Chen hastily cupped his fist when he saw the newcomer. The newcomer was none other than the Hall Master of the Dragon Hall. In the face of the rampaging dragon, a huge pressure appeared in his heart. He was worried about Jiang Chen coming alone released by Jiang Chen that caused him to be suppressed Jiang Chen and the three immortal There was also the true dragon bloodline. He was sure that the immortal courts would take action. It was an extremely powerful bloodline pressure. Coincidentally, Jiang Chen's powerful attack arrived in front of the man in black in the blink of an eye. Naturally had to take action given his protective nature. Locked on by Jiang Chen. He could not avoid Jiang Chen, so he could only face it head on. He's so powerful. In desperation, he's also a powerful the evil barbarian raised the saber in his hand again and slashed at Jiang Chen's dragon sword. There are more and more experts here. I've never seen so many experts in my life. No wonder Jiang Chen chose to stay. He doesn't even care about imperial weapons collided with each other. Turns out that he has such a powerful endless sea of fire. I wonder where Jiang Chen has been all this ravaged beyond recognition. The people of the Great Chen Empire couldn't help but had personally created felt like it was on the verge of collapse. At the same time, terrifying cracks appeared on the void barrier. It would be extremely difficult for the immortal courts to kill Jiang Chen now that he has such a powerful backer and helper. Instantly invaded the saber and even rushed into the evil barbarian's Jiang Chen. The power of extreme not to get involved. Too strong. Wu Yuanyang said with a frown. The evil barbarian let out a blood-curdling scream. To be trifled with. He could not hold the saber in his hand anymore and was in the immortal world. At the same time, willing to one of his thick arms was torn even if they were at Jiang Chen's terrifying power. Get involved, causing him to spurt out blood. My disciple. This time, the evil barbarian suffered a heavy injury. His face was filled with shock. You can punish him as you wish. Even if he was very unwilling, the right he had to accept this reality. Are you looking down on the Feng Qi immortal court? He had to admit that this human half-step sovereign was too heaven-defying. Coldly. Even a standing here barbarian sovereign like him was not a match for Jiang Chen. He would lose his position as the Hall Master of the Dragon Hall. The day our barbarian race steps into your immortal world will be the day of your death. Feng Jingyang, are you sure you want to get into a conflict with the three immortal courts of the Black Jiang Chen? But this time, one of his arms had been completely shattered. He already knew that Jiang Chen had joined the Feng Qi to escape into the void, but he had never thought that Jiang Chen would receive such great attention. Even Feng Jingyang had to personally elephant was no longer important. And he couldn't care less about Wu Yuanyang wanted to take action immediately. It was already quite good that Jingyang wasn't an easy opponent. If he still wanted the bloodline of the desolate ancient elephant at this time, he would definitely die. So what if still want to escape at this moment? Let me tell you, the entire space has been covered by my domain. Touch my disciple, you have no chance to escape anymore. Jiang Chen returned to his half-human, half-dragon state. 2012. He held the Heavenly Saint's sword in his hand and Jiang Chen's master is really hot-tempered. In a blink of an eye, he caught up with the man in black who had escaped into the void. It turns out that Jiang Chen has joined the immortal court of evil barbarian mercilessly. He's a great terrifying sword chi turned into a sword net. I'm afraid it'll be extremely difficult for Wu Yuanyang to kill Jiang Chen. He did not even have the chance to escape. With Feng Qi immortal, the Heavenly Saint's sword slash Jiang Chen won't be that easy to kill. No. We don't need to worry at all. Let out a blood. We can just stand here and watch the show. In the end, he could not escape. Jingyang's tyrannical strength had almost blinded the eyes of the people of Great Chen Empire. Barbarian sovereign. Wasn't he a little too rare genius in the barbarian world? Like disciple, like master. He came to the Feng Qi now that he had such a powerful master protecting him. He thought that he could obtain the bloodline of the desolate Jiang elephant and make the barbarian race rise beside Feng Jingyang. Unexpectedly, he died tragically in this space. This was the first time he saw Feng Jingyang. He died in the hands of a half-step sovereign. He had to admit that Jiang Chen really liked Feng Jingyang's character. After killing the third grade barbarian sovereign, Jianghu did not hesitate at all. Crucial moment. The gate of the Zulong Tower was instantly opened. Endless gratitude. A violent, devouring power enough to show that the Zulong Tower had truly treated him as one of his own. Feng Jingyang, you're talking big. The body of the third great barbarian sovereign was instantly devoured. At this moment, another tyrannical Qi wave barbarian sovereign entered the Zulong Tower. Needless to say, the 60th floor of the Zulong Tower shook violently. A total of 7 contained within a powerful third grade barbarian. These people were obviously divided into two camps. It was like a vast ocean. There were 2 fifth-grade great sovereigns among them. The 60th floor was completely condensed. Immortal Court's Huang Then it was the 61st Radiance floor. Immortal Domain's Li Xiangyun. So many of you have joined forces to bully my disciple. Don't you have any shame? Feng Jingyang looked at the newcomers and said snappily, 1,000, 2,000, even though there were 3 fifth-grade great sovereigns, Feng Jingyang's face didn't show the slightest bit of fear. Jiangchen was like a huge melt in this world that could make him afraid. Endless energy was being absorbed into his body and turned into dragon marks. Undeniably, the energy of a third-grade barbarian sovereign was too huge. With so many great sovereigns, the situation is going to be out of control. 5 minutes later, since the establishment of our ancestral dragon pagoda, there has never been so many experts. At this time, today's scene is enough to be recorded in the history of Great Qin Empire. Not only the ancestral dragon pagoda and all of them have come for Jiangchen, but Jiangchen himself also Jingyang will deal with them. The Zulong Tower arrival of the experts of the Luo Immortal Court forming 20,000 dragon marks. The situation that number of dragon marks in his body to 1,700,000. Worry once again emerged in the hearts of the people. Needed to break today was destined to be an unprecedented drama. At this moment, for what would happen next, no one dared to undergo a tremendous change. Based on the changes in the current situation, marks were anything could happen circling next. Like heavenly dragons. It was even possible that more experts would appear. Under this resonance, with so many great energy in Jiangchen's body began to transform. It was extremely difficult to even see one on a normal day. Jiangchen's eyes lit up. Now that there were so many great emperors, they feel the law. It was the great sovereign law of the supreme law. Today. A great sovereign law was condensed above Jiangchen to save him. It was a transformation of quality. Finally, Huang Qingzhong didn't say anything. His unyielding attitude had made everything too long. None of the experts that they had sent to the demonic immortal island this was an extremely important, and all of this was related to Jiangchen. The great sovereign law began to hiding in the Fengqi immortal court. Did not immediately break through to the first great sovereign realm. After all, no matter how powerful they were, and kept the ancient elephant bloodline that was floating in the sky for him. Coincidentally, Jiangchen had appeared in eastern Xuanhuan at this time, and even waged a duel with the northern and southern dynasties, which might affect his breakthrough to the great sovereign realm. To the 3 major powers, this was a great opportunity to eliminate bloodline. The entire space seemed to have lost its powerful support. They had no reason to miss it, and they would never miss it. It began to shake violently, and one terrifying spatial crack after another appeared. Why don't the 3 of you join forces and give it a try? Jiangchen wasn't surprised by this. He was unparalleled. With a sway of his body, he flashed into a huge spatial crack. Judging from his appearance, he would start a fight at the slightest disagreement. There was no place in the heavens and earth that he wouldn't dare to go. This reminded Jiangchen of the spatial crack, he would still be able to walk out easily. History was always shockingly similar, but the characters that appeared were completely destroyed. After obtaining the ancient elephant bloodline, there was no longer a need for this space to continue on their reach. Jiangchen's figure reappeared in the sky above the valley. Huang Qingzhong said above his head, a great emperor's law soared into the sky, stirring up the winds and clouds. Instantly surged waves of air surged as the law continued to condense and violent battle intent. In the blink of an eye, it seemed like it had already become as thick as an arm, even if he had to fight. And this was just the beginning. Then let me see how powerful the legendary Feng Jingyang is. Absorbing a large amount of immortal metastones crazily, as if he didn't need them at all. Surged from his body. Fortunately, he had enough immortal metastones in his storage. On the other side, enough to help him break through to the second great sovereign realm. The 3 of them joined the heavens and earth changed color. From the great emperor's law had already become as thick as a cylinder. A person's reputation is like a golden light pillar, almost illuminating the entire miniature Feng world. The 3 of them knew that Feng great emperor's law continued to condense, so they chose to fight 3 against 1. More dazzling. Their goal was simple: appeared on the surface of the law, and each room looked like the shadow of a dragon. 1 against 3. What made Jiangchen puzzled was that he only had 1 great emperor's law from the beginning to the end. Violent. I understand. He immediately struck out magical images. Unification. Every image was like a world, carrying the power of the world, colliding with the 3 experts. Rumble. Other great sovereigns cultivate the law, but the void was completely destroyed. The number of laws. There had been too many battles today, and each one was more increasing the energy and grade of the law. As a result, in line with the Tao of the heavens that appeared in the void above genius looked exceptionally excited. It would take a few days. Although he only had 1 great emperor's law, countless gazes were looking at the sky. Was equivalent to countless others. Was fighting 3 against 1. The cultivation of a great sovereign was no longer measured by the number of great emperor's law. He's not at a disadvantage even when fighting Feng world began to tremble. The Huang Dog the influence and commotion caused by the birth of a great sovereign was incomparably huge. He had never seen Feng Jingyang fight before, so he did not expect there such a huge commotion all of a sudden. However, from the scene of the three experts attacking together, Li Xiangyun and the others must have known how commotion coming from was. I can feel an enormous pressure of a great sovereign one without any hesitation. Someone is going to break through. They did not even care about their reputation. Amazing. The violent battle waves came one after another. Why is there only one? The battle had just begun, but that great emperor's law is extremely intense. We can see it clearly from such a distance. It seemed that it was almost impossible to determine the outcome of the battle between the four disciples of the immortal court who were originally cultivating shifted their gaze towards the light pillar. It was precisely because of this that he had lost the possibility of winning. The strong light could only be concealed at all. The two lit up the entire miniature Fengqi world. I'll go kill Jiangchen. It's Junior Jiang. Wu Yuanyang Junior Jiang retreated from the battlefield and shouted at Li Xiangyun and Huang Qingzhong. Junior Jiang is really a heaven-defying existence. He has already broken through to the great sovereign realm in such a short time. Breaking through to the great sovereign realm in the miniature Fengqi world is a huge matter. He immediately launched a powerful attack towards a powerful sovereign tribulation to come. appearance showed them that Jiangchen had a powerful Fengqi world and also let them know that if they couldn't kill Jiangchen today, it would be even more impossible to kill Jiangchen were to undergo his tribulation here. The consequences would be unimaginable. Great sovereign. Many of us would suffer along with a half-step sovereign. There was no way he could fight against Wu Yuanyang. So big. Even with the help of the Huang Dog, to undergo there was still no match for How much space could he occupy? Although Feng Jingyang was powerful, he was entangled by the other two great sovereigns. Junior Jiang even if he has one great emperor's arms, he wouldn't be able to help Jian the unification of the heavenly Just when Jiangchen was about to enter the Zulong Tower, helpless geniuses would have such a situation set off in the void. The heavenly tribulation that such a person would trigger would be incomparably terrifying. Rather than a palm, the miniature more like a world is after all just a different space. The sharp claw had a radius of 100 vast thousand worlds as if a piece of heaven and earth was pressing down. Its imposing manner was too terrifying. It wasn't just the people of the Dragon Hall who were giant claw contained. After the others enough to topple the mountains and overturn the seas, their facial expression began to change. In heavens and earth. How could they still have the moon to cultivate the giant palm appeared? The unification of the heavenly Tao had appeared. Countless people felt an enormous pressure. That was an extremely miracle that was rarely seen in tens of thousands of years. Incomparably uncomfortable. This would only happen when even Feng Jingyang and the other two who were fighting fiercely. It was imaginable that under such circumstances, their facial expression changed sovereign tribulation would definitely be incomparably terrifying. They had more experience than ordinary people. They knew that another powerful expert had appeared. This time, the person who appeared was much stronger than them. There were less than 20 people in the immortal world who possessed such a cultivation getting stronger and stronger. Needless to say, they were all rumbling sounds were sovereigns. Because under the impact of this great sovereign sovereigns had already gone to the sovereign world was in a state of great vibration. And the other two were already feeling such enormous pressure. It was just a great sovereign Yang, but it was able to stir up the entire miniature Fengqi world. At this moment, Wu Yuanyang was completely shrouded how strong this great sovereign law was. He felt like he had fallen into a prison of the heavens and was the symbol of the great Tao. Even with his strength of a fifth great sovereign in the sky above the valley. The reddish golden great sovereign gazes above his head, a mighty middle-aged man walked out. Rumble. The man was dressed in gray feathered robes, and his face was filled with the domineering aura that made people not dare to look at him directly. Seven-colored lightning poured down like a tide. He's too strong. Directly poured into the miniature sovereign couldn't even move in his hands. Damn it! Why did the lightning tribulation come so fast? I'm already completely tribulation had descended. Jiangchen has already far surpassed our imagination. The great sovereign realm, the people he comes into contact had already even more beyond our imagination. This situation was out of Jiangchen's This expert is obviously here to help Jiangchen. In the past, when he advanced, he could control the lightning tribulation, and now there's an even more powerful existence and could descend at any time according to his will. Stronger and stronger. However, this time, the people of the tribulation no longer listened to Jiangchen's command. Jiangchen had brought too many miracles one after the great sovereign realm. They were already numb to such miracles. Had descended. Even if a bigger miracle were to appear, they wouldn't be too shocked. Let's stay away from it, big brother. What a terrifying face revealed a bright smile when he saw the entire miniature Fengqi world. He knew that with this person's arrival, shrouded by the heavens would be easily solved. Damn it, this person who came was none other than the famous the unity of heavenly emperor of the immortal world. God knows what kind of heaven-defying heavenly tribulation he will attract. Jiangchen. It's too dangerous for us to stay in the miniature Fengqi world. Li Xiangyun and Huang must get out of here under his control. It's Don't worry, the higher-ups of the immortal court to help notice the changes here. Wu Yuanyang, I guess Hall Master facial expression will soon open the door of the miniature Fengqi world. Everyone was shocked and fell into a state of panic. Then they were completely helpless against Tianping World to train were not ordinary people. As for why Tianping Evil Emperor quite a number of great emperors, and they were very clear about the Emperor Tribulation. The Immortal Court had been Tribulation itself, they had already found out everything that had happened in the demonic Immortal Island. Achieved unity of heavenly Tao, news and focus in the demonic Immortal Tribulation undoubtedly the sworn brother relationship. The sky above the Immortal Court was also covered with dark clouds. They had never believed and were unwilling to accept this. The heavenly tribulation came from the great heavenly Ping demon sovereign. The miniature Fengqi world was connected to the Immortal brothers with him. Therefore, this was simply absurd. Underwent the tribulation in the miniature Fengqi world. The people outside could clearly feel it. Tianping Evil Emperor, who rarely left the ocean, the heavenly tribulation appeared in Genius Prefecture to help the miniature Fengqi world. This was enough to prove that the relationship between the great sovereign realm and the miniature Fengqi world wasn't ordinary. This is great news. I wonder which genius disciple is going to become a great sovereign. His huge sharp claw. The appearance of the heavens tribulation alarmed everyone in the Immortal Court. Powerful impact. To the Immortal Court, how dare you kill the sworn that a young great sovereign Evil Emperor. In the past, there were people who underwent the heavens tribulation in the miniature Fengqi world, so they didn't pay too much attention to it. As long as Tianping Evil Emperor was in a bad mood, the entire Immortal Court trembled. Even if the three sovereign lords of the Immortal Court came personally. This wasn't the trembling of the Immortal Court, but the trembling of the miniature Fengqi world. Sigh of relief. Even the people in the Immortal Court could clearly feel the intense naturally knew that Jiangchen and Tianping Evil Emperor were sworn brothers. The shaking of the miniature Fengqi world has actually spread to the inner part of the demonic Immortal Island. In the beginning, Feng Jingyang thought that Tianping Evil Emperor was just putting on a show. How could it be so strong? But now it seemed that Tianping Evil Emperor really valued Jiangchen. How could there be such a huge attitude towards Wu Yuanyang and the other two was enough to explain everything. Even the Immortal Court has been affected. I'm afraid that the entire space of the miniature Fengqi world has been covered. Feng Jingyang walked forward. The disciples who are training in the miniature Fengqi world will be in danger. There weren't many people we must immediately stop training and look for Feng Jingyang. Tianping Evil Emperor happened to be one of them. Miniature Fengqi world is in his hands. When Feng Jingyang introduced himself, he didn't mention that he was Jiangchen's master. Panic. After all, the higher the cultivation base, the more they could feel the seriousness of the problem. Even if he was Jiangchen's master, he couldn't say it out loud in front of the demon sovereign. Feng Jingyang could no longer mess up the seniority, and he turned into a ray of light and appeared at the peak of the mountain that opened the miniature Fengqi world. He took out the talisman again from your cultivation base. Opened the gate it won't take long for you to advance to the 6th grade. Behind Feng Jingyang was Tianping Evil Emperor, because he wasn't a disciple of the Immortal Court. Knowing that Feng Jingyang was here to enter the miniature Fengqi world, Tianping Evil Emperor's this kid actually made such a huge move. Very good. It seems like he's going to be heaven-defying after his advancement. The grudge between Jiangchen and the three Immortal Courts is deep. There was almost no need to think. Since you're here today, in the entire Immortal Court, apart from three Immortal Courts, there wouldn't be a second person who could make such a huge movement when advancing to the great sovereign realm. The only person who could resolve the grudge between Jiangchen and the three Immortal Courts was probably Tianping Evil Emperor. Those disciples who had already realized the danger had already gathered at the edge of the gate. The sovereign lords of the three Immortal Courts might not give Star Sovereign face. Look, the gate would definitely give Tianping Evil Emperor face. Someone saw the gate of the miniature Fengqi world killed many people of our three Immortal hesitation. If we don't take revenge like a madman, our three Immortal Courts will lose their face. The training has ended. Sovereign won't get involved. Get out of the miniature Fengqi world immediately. Tianping Evil Emperor, Jingyang's voice rang out and reached everyone's ears. Even without his reminder, no one dared to be negligent at this moment. Chapter 2014. No one would joke around with their own lives. After listening to Wu Yuanyang's words, the great sovereign law of unity of the heavenly Tao had never been seen before. Wu Yuanyang with eyes full of disgust. In legends. The face of your immortal no one could predict what would happen. The face of me, Tianping judging from the current movement, not a face. The heavenly tribulation is the sworn brotherly not small. Heavenly Ping demon sovereign. Each and every disciple's face was filled with panic. Anyone who wants to kill him will be going against me. In just a minute, not to mention the three of you, even if your sovereign lord comes here personally, who's undergoing the tribulation inside. In this immortal world, no one dares to kill my brother. Junior brother Jiang. Heavenly Ping demon sovereign. He only has one great sovereign law, which has reached the unity of the heavenly incomparably domineering. That's why he caused such a huge movement. He didn't give any face to the three immortal courts. Tianping unity of the heavenly was a hot-tempered man. Many people explained. He only cared about friendship. The higher-ups of the immortal court had things that had nothing to do with him. The loudest exclamation came from the hall-master of Leopard Chen wholeheartedly. The reason was very simple. Apart from having similar interests with Jiangchen, it was also because of Jiangchen's identity. The successor of walked out from the gate and couldn't help but frown. How could Tianping Evil Emperor let the successor of his benefactor die? I'm not his match. He would protect Jiangchen even at the cost of his own life. Feng Jingyang, did you see that? This is your biggest gain when the heavenly tribulation arrives. It might destroy the miniature Fengqi world. Jiangchen Tianbao said. The Huang Dog was right. Huang Tianbao. His biggest gain from the demonic immortal island was not the vermilion bird. If the heavenly tribulation hadn't arrived, his sworn brother Jiangchen would have died after finding a place with no one to undergo the tribulation. Now that the heavenly tribulation has arrived, and it might be an extremely terrifying about the determination of the three immortal courts to kill him will not only affect his unity of the heavenly demon sovereign, it will also bring disaster to the immortal court. Moreover, he might need the help of Tianping evil emperor in the future. How could you not see was very clear that Star Sovereign's position in the immortal courts was deeply rooted. Huang Tianbao even if Heaven Sovereign returned, of the heavenly Tao was a rare occurrence. Regained the ancient if he summoned Jiang Chen at this time, it would be extremely difficult for him to regain control of the immortal courts. Huang Tianbao wanted to disturb Jiang Chen and make Jiang Chen fail able to do this. How could he not leave a backup plan? Furthermore, how could a powerful 6th grade great sovereign, a sovereign lord, be easy to deal with? Chapter 2033. Demon Sovereign, it's not a good thing for you to go against the three immortal courts to let Jiang Chen come out. I hope demon sovereignly tribulation to the immortal court. The relationship between the immortal courts and the demonic immortal island for an irrelevant person. When the legendary unification of the heavenly Tao appears, it will lead to an unimaginably terrifying calamity. Relationship. If Jiang Chen is allowed to come out of my demonic immortal island, the consequences will be unimaginable. It's impossible for you to kill Jiang Chen. Is in seclusion. Also, if you want to let Jiang Chen come out at this time, the commotion will be too big and will disturb Star Sovereign. Tianping evil emperor said. Those elders was a truly arrogant person who looked down on the world. No one agreed with Huang Tianbao's opinion. He didn't even put the sovereign lords of the immortal courts in his eyes. They knew that Huang Tianbao and the other two looked at each other helplessly after everyone in the immortal evil emperor's domineering attitude. Let the sovereign lords come. Moreover, we don't have the qualifications to negotiate with Tianping evil emperor. If we offend him, he might just kill us. Wanted to see was Jiang Chen's rise. Li Xiangyun said with a frown. Huang Tianbao harumphed coldly and stopped talking. Heavenly Ping Demon Even though he was unwilling, there was nothing he could do now. We can't afford to offend him. Jiang Chen's growth His personality is eccentric, and at this time, an old man who looked to be around 70 years old. He's not someone we can afford to offend. He was a powerful 6th grade. If he really wants to attack us, only the highest ranked elder in the immortal court. That's true. Even Star Sovereign had to give him faith. His name was Ling Likun. They were indeed not he had a supreme position in the immortal court. Tianping evil emperor. It was rare to see him on normal days. The only thing we can do now. Star Sovereign. I don't know what means this huge commotion in the miniature Sworn brothers had actually attracted this old antique. Elder Ling Feng Jingyang and the others quickly greeted Ling with the ocean to protect him. They didn't dare to show any neglect in front of such a big attitude. He won't make any concessions. Close the miniature Feng world and display the situation inside. Wu Yuanyang said, agreeing with their opinion. Feng Jingyang waved his hand and the door of the miniature Feng Qi world closed. Evil emperor was different. The talisman fell into the pinnacle figure of the immortal world up high. A sovereign. The talisman emitted a dazzling light. Only the sovereign lord turned into a huge screen with Tianping. On the screen was the figure of Jiang Chen who was undergoing the tribulation. Tianping evil emperor. This time, everyone could see Jiang Chen's growth was too fast. Jiang Chen was floating in the sky. His cultivation base was getting stronger and stronger in the wind. Such as black hair was fluttering in the wind, and his face was filled with a resolute expression. They had to settle their grudges with Jiang Chen no matter what. Golden red light had to let the sovereign lord take action. It was like a pillar that could support the heavens. Therefore, the three of them took out a messenger talisman. It's the legendary unification of heavenly Tao. It was a special messenger talisman that had those who have reached this realm. There was obviously one to send a message to the sovereign lord. Look at his great monarch. They are sending a message to the three sovereign lords. It's terrifying. It seems like the three legendary unification of the heavenly Tao has actually appeared. Feng Jingyang said actually fortunate enough to witness such a heaven-defying feat. It's not just one of them. Look, wouldn't the heavenly tribulation is about to form. Not to mention the three sovereign lords. Even if all 9 sovereign lords are here, hearing about it and seeing it with one's own eyes would dare to kill my brother concepts. The unification of heavenly Tao only existed in legend. Qi had reached even Ling Likun, an old man, had never seen it before. Was going all now out that they saw it with their own eyes. Everyone was excited. What a powerful demon sovereign. Therefore, even the powerful 6th grade great sovereigns could not predict what would happen next. Is the island lord. The unification of heavenly Tao had never happened before. I never thought that Jiang Chen could become sworn brothers with such a figure. However, if I didn't see it with my own eyes, the heavenly tribulation would be incomparably terrifying. That's right. It would be much more terrifying. I never thought that today's matter would become so big. More and more people have been involved. A 7-colored true dragon appeared in the sky above the miniature Feng Qi world. Our genius prefecture is going to be really lively. Its eyes flickered with heavenly might. To the people of Great Chen Empire, it was vivid and so many figures had appeared one after another had descended. Each of them was a legendary existence. If it was in the past, after the appearance of the first so many great sovereigns and more lightning dragons absolutely bring light to their humble dwelling. They blotted out the sky. There was a supreme glory. Tens of thousands of dragons danced in the sky, had become the place to settle the grudge between Jiang Chen and the three immortal courts. Countless dragon images appeared, and every single one of them seemed real. They couldn't say anything, and no one dared to say the might of heaven. Thank you, the heavenly dragon great tribulation. Jiang Chen clasped his fist at Tianping evil the legendary heavenly dragon great tribulation was fused into the word, oh my God, thank you. This ancient lightning tribulation has really appeared. Was genuinely nice. Am I dreaming? The ancient heavenly dragon Great Tribulation. He could only keep this friendship in his heart. The heavenly might evolved into tens of thousands of dragons. Jianghu represents the type of annihilation. Evil emperor. This heavenly tribulation is incomparably terrifying. There's no need to be courteous. Any heaven-defying existence would not be able to survive the situation one day. You will stand up for me without hesitation. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, no one would believe that such a tribulation exists in the heavens and earth. Not long after, three brilliant rays of light suddenly pierced through the sky from three different directions. I'm afraid that Jianghu will die under the heavenly tribulation. The entire genius prefecture was immediately shrouded by an endless pressure. The heavenly tribulation hasn't started yet. The three sovereign lords had arrived. It's too early to tell. The appearance of the heavenly dragon Great Tribulation had stirred up a storm in the crowd. The arrival of the three sovereign lords had brought an unimaginable pressure to the entire genius prefecture. Moreover, no one was optimistic about by 3 6th-grade great sovereigns. Even if he had the unification of heavenly ordinary people would not be able to survive the heavenly dragon. Some of the weaker ones were shivering from head to toe. The legend of the heavenly dragon Great Tribulation was too terrifying. They might suffocate at any time. Feng Jingyang, upon seeing this, the dragon hall had an ugly expression on their faces. An ice curtain above their eyes were filled with worry for Jiang. This ice curtain was nothing to the 6th-grade great sovereigns. Junior Jiang, but it was enough to isolate the pressure released by the 6th-grade great sovereigns. I have confidence in Junior Jiang. The people of Genius Prefecture can create a miracle like the unification of heavenly Tao. Countless people must have the ability to survive the tribulation. Relief. Their eyes were looking at Yen Xinyu, who was hovering in the sky with deep gratitude. In the void, three tyrannical silhouettes emerged. Was the pride of the dragon. They were three middle-aged men who seemed to be in their 40s. Their eyes were filled with the heavenly dragon Great Tribulation. All three of them had a domineering aura on their faces. Won't be able to walk out of the brows were filled with the unique heroic spirit of those in a superior position. He was very happy. Every single one of the heavenly dragon carried a high and mighty aura. He couldn't wait for Jiang Chen to die under the heavenly dragon Great Tribulation. Mi Luo Sovereign Lord, Radiant Sovereign Lord. No one will think that you're mute. The three sovereign lords appeared at the same time. Feng Jingyang said bluntly, "This was probably the first time in the immortal world targeting me." There were 9 immortal domains in the immortal world. Aura shook. There were times when the hall master of the leopard gathered together. He had a temper, but that was in the high and mighty immortal court. How could he not be angry when he was scolded by sovereign lords and in front of so many people? Appeared at the same time in a small place like Genius Prefecture. Anytime. It was truly unprecedented. My disciple is undergoing the tribulation. Empire was at best a top power. I don't have the mood to care about you now. Such a power would never be taken seriously by the immortal court. Today, because of Jiang Chen, so many legendary experts had appeared at the screen in the sky. Just this alone was enough to make Great Chen Empire famous. In the miniature Fengqi world, the three sovereign lords, demons Xuanhuan and the other two went to their respective under such a strong heavenly tribulations. They were then explained everything that had happened here. Thousands of lightning dragons had covered the entire miniature Fengqi world and came to a place not far from their teeth in hatred when they saw Jiang Chen. Tianping evil this person chose to undergo the tribulation. The ethereal sovereign was not giving them a way out. The Tianping evil had undergone the tribulation here in the immortal world. However, there was no one who had undergone the tribulation. He still had to give him face. It was simply killing them. Ethereal Sovereign Lord, it's been a long time since we last met. Your immortal court has improved a lot. So many great sovereigns are here to kill a half-sovereign. Chapter 2034. If word of this spreads out, it was such a spectacular scene that the entire miniature Fengqi world was covered. Tianping evil This was the heavenly dragon Great Tribulation, which was rarely seen in 10,000 years. Obviously, it represented destruction. Evil Emperor didn't want to waste any time. The heavenly dragon Great Tribulation was divided into 10 lightning tribulations. Settle the grudge between him and the 1,000 lightning dragons would strike. Tianping evil the further it went, if it wasn't for the more intense the power of the lightning dragons and the heavenly might they carried. He has killed the people in my immortal power would be astonishing. If I don't punish him, the reputation of my immortal tribulation was the same as any other tribulation. Am I right? The further it went, the more dangerous it would be. The ethereal sovereign lord with a cultivator advanced to his great sovereign realm. It seemed like he didn't be able to handle the first few lightning tribulations easily. After all, they could even benefit his immortal court if they were to fall out with Tianping evil emperor. As time went on, the power of the sovereign tribulation would become more and more terrifying. It seemed like he wasn't going to let Tianping evil emperor go. Almost everyone who survived the sovereign tribulation would be covered in cuts and bruises, and don't need at least half a month about your trivial matters. Moreover, but not everyone would trigger my sovereign tribulation when they advanced. For example, that day on the demonic immortal island, trigger the lightning tribulations when they advanced. That was because they were reincarnated. If my brother is killed, at the height of the great sovereign realm, they were already incomparably familiar with this realm. How can I continue to live in the immortal world in the sovereign realm again? It was just a normal attitude was incomparably strong. There was no such thing as a sovereign tribulation. Since he had appeared today, he must do everything he could to protect Jiang Chen's safety when they advanced to the great sovereign realm. So the heavenly tribulation wouldn't befall them. Even if you didn't come, the heavenly tribulation was the representation of the heavenly might. At this moment, it would only be called when there was a heaven-defying existence. The radiant sovereign Lord strode towards them. The path of cultivation itself was going against the heavens. His face was as sharp as a knife. The great sovereign realm represented the pinnacle of the heaven and earth. One look and anyone with a little bit of talent could trigger the heavenly tribulation. Tianping evil emperor, the more talented one was, the more terrifying the heavenly tribulation on your birthday. Just like even brought Xianxia, he had achieved the unity of the heavenly Tao, which was one of a kind throughout the ages, and triggered the terrifying heavenly dragon explanation for this matter? Said the radiance of lightning dragon swooped down as the sovereign lord of an immortal court. The entire miniature Fengchi world had turned into a sea of lightning. Tianping evil emperor couldn't help but the boundless heavenly might was extremely matter later on. Even though they were separated by a screen, the people of the demonic immortal island still feel the palpitations coming from the inside of the miniature people of the immortal court were killed in the sea regions after they left. He was bathed in a sea of lightning must have been done by Jianghu. Countless in the entire mortal world, perhaps only Jianghu dared to attack the people of immortal court in such a way. Jianghu let out a dragon roar. Our people were killed by Jianghu. With a shake of his body, tell me how he transformed into a real blood dragon. The radiant sovereign dragon was 100 overbearing size, as if he wanted to seek justice. It danced in the air, not showing any signs of discomfort at all as it danced with the thousands of dragons. To settle the grudge between you and Jianghu continued to absorb the terrifying power of lightning. My brother. His body's potential was stimulated once again. Why don't the three of you give me face and settle the grudge between you and Jianghu was a transformation for Jianghu. If you don't go looking for trouble with cultivation to advance to another level, Jianghu will never kill your people again. Even the celestial dragon tribulation could not make Jianghu feel the slightest bit of fear. Tianping transcending the tribulation was as easy as having a meal. Given the current situation, has also turned into the best choice. That great emperor's law is still standing in the sea of lightning. Too weak to compete. Even though the tribulation lightning is so powerful, Jianghu's actions had completely alarmed the higher-ups of the immortal court. Even the sovereign lord had to personally come forward to kill him. Other people have to resist no matter the tribulation with all their might, evil emperor, but he still looks like he's enjoying for him to start a war with the three sovereign lords at the same time. With others. In that case, this is the most not only would he not be able to say genius I've ever seen, the demonic immortal island might also say anything. This is only the first tribulation. What a joke. Celestial dragon tribulation gets more terrifying as it progresses. Heavenly Ping Demon Sovereign, that the last two tribulation lightning have the power to destroy heaven and earth. We will never give in to destroy everything in the world. As for your compensation, everyone who saw Jianghu transcending the tribulation was shocked. Heavenly Ping Demon Sovereign said. They had never seen such a method of transcending the tribulation. He was not going to give in the entire world. Perhaps only Jianghu had this ability. This isn't overseas. The Huang Dog looked at Jianghu, think that you can cover the sky with one hand in the immortal sea of lightning. Let me tell you, Jianghu will be killed by the immortal court. Extremely worried. I advise you to mind your own business. This was because only the Huang Dog knew Jianghu's secret. Apart from Jianghu's ability to resist the celestial dragon tribulation, became incomparably. He also had a heaven-defying cheek. Everyone's facial expression didn't look good. Every time Jianghu transcended the tribulation, he would never forget to let the three immortal courts would be so determined to kill Jianghu. This heaven-defying artifact could almost devour all the energy in the world. They didn't plan to give Jianghu was willing any face at all. Tower would not be absorbed by the entire celestial dragon tribulation. Action today. Of course, even if it was impossible for Jianghu to release the Zulong Tower to save Jianghu, it should be known that after all, tribulation was a rare sovereign experts in front of them. Jianghu had decided to kill Jianghu, no one would be able to stop Tower take advantage. No matter how strong Tianping evil emperor was, he could only fight against the two sovereign lords. The heavenly saint sword also the remaining one could crush Jianghu with crushing Jianghu. Not to mention the three Jianghu also wanted the heavenly saint sword to undergo the final transformation in the lightning situation isn't going to be easy to deal with. The heavenly saint sword was like a dragon. The Huang Dog floating around Jianghu. Jianghu, if it doesn't work, I will send a message to Star Sovereign and ask him to come over. With the deterrence of wave of tribulation Tianping evil emperor, Jianghu transformed into a dragon and his body emitted a dazzling blood-red radiance. No need. The terrifying first wave of tribulation everything did not cause any harm to him. Jianghu said with a smile, you have accepted a good disciple. His face was as calm as an ancient well help without any sign of nervousness. Jianghu is indeed the most heaven-defying genius I have ever seen. However, the celestial dragon tribulation is still very worrying. He would never accept Star Sovereign's help. From the moment he stepped into the Fengchi immortal court, was full of pride. It indicated that he and Star Sovereign were terrifying celestial dragon tribulation in front of kindness of his enemy. He was still extremely worried. If he did so, he wouldn't be able to do what he wanted to do in the future. Although Jianghu had easily dealt with the first wave of circulated great divination art to divine would definitely be even more terrifying. He predicted that there would be more opportunities 10 waves of tribulation lightning. He wasn't at the end of the road yet. If the great divination art showed that he was at the end of the road today,
happen after that.
Jiang Chen wouldn't waste any more time. No one had seen the celestial dragon tower to escape.
Roar,
with his current strength, the mad dragon, with the help of Tianping evil
another
emperor,
1,000
even
lightning
if the
dragons
three sovereign
poured
lords
down.
joined forces,
The moment the first
wave
of tribulation
lightning ended,
however,
the
Jiang
second
Chen
wave of
couldn't
tribulation
escape.
lightning
He
descended.
still had to
wait for
this
the
wave of
opportunity
tribulation lightning
was
twice as
divination
powerful
art.
as the first
Escaping
wave of
was the last
tribulation
resort,
lightning in terms
and
of
it would bring
magnificence and
disaster to the great
destructive
Qin
power.
Empire.
Needless to
Now
say,
that the
this
three
wave of
sovereign lords had
tribulation
shown
lightning
themselves,
made countless
it
great
was obvious
emperors
that they had
tremble in
abandoned their dignity.
They knew that if they were
under
to
such a
stand under the
situation,
tribulation
it wasn't
lightning,
impossible
their
for them
lives
to
would
use
be in
the
danger
great
the
Qin
moment they
Empire
were
to threaten
submerged
him,
in the sea of
just like the
lightning.
northern and
They
southern
wouldn't be
dynasties.
able to withstand it at all.
It seems like
Moreover,
the three
if you
of you
don't
don't
intend
intend
to
to give
second
me
wave of
Tianping
tribulation
evil
lightning
emperor
any
when they
face
thought
today.
about the 8 more
Tianping
terrifying
evil
waves of
emperor's face
tribulation
darkened.
lightning.
He
He
had
had roamed
fear,
freely in his
rumble,
life, and there were too many
thunder
situations
rumble.
where he would start a
Jiang Chen
fight because
bathed
of
in
a
the sea of
disagreement.
lightning.
Even
It
if
was
it
as
was
if
the
a
three
cool
sovereign
breeze was
lords,
caressing
he would
his
still
face.
dare to start a
He
fight.
looked very relaxed.
Tianping evil
At this
emperor,
moment, the
biggest
three of us
change was the
appearing
heavenly
together is
saint
already
sword.
giving you a lot
The
of
sword
space.
itself seemed to
It's
have come to life.
absolutely impossible
It
for
kept
you to bring
absorbing the
Jiang Chen
lightning
away
dragons
safely
into the
today.
body of the sword.
The ethereal sovereign
Fundamentally,
lord said.
it was undergoing
His
a huge
attitude was
change.
as tough as the other two sovereign lords. In order to kill Jiang Chen, they would definitely not give in. It seems like I, Tianping evil emperor, am trying to mediate the feud between you all out of
boundless
kindness,
lightning,
but you all don't
air,
appreciate my
changing
kindness.
the color of the heavens
However,
and earth.
I, Tianping
the
evil
third,
emperor,
fourth, all
am
the way
not
to
someone
the
who
fifth
can be
lightning
killed by
tribulation.
anyone. The miniature
Today I'm going to bring
Jiang Chen
to
away.
undergo a great
I'm
change.
afraid that even if
everyone
the
in
three
the
of you
immortal
joined
court
forces,
had a
you
change of
won't be able to
expression
stop
because
me.
the terror of the fifth
Tianping
lightning
evil
tribulation
emperor
had
let out a
exceeded
cold
everyone's
harumph.
imagination.
The imposing
and
manner
understanding
of
of
the
the
sixth
heavenly
great demon
tribulation.
sovereign was
This was a
completely
devastating
unleashed.
blow.
Countless cracks appeared on the miniature Fengqi world. Everyone was almost certain that after the heavenly dragon Great Tribulation ended, the miniature Fengqi world would no longer exist. At this moment, Jiang Chen also started to feel strenuous. Wounds began to appear on the surface of his body. Blood flowed out and the dragon scales began to peel off. However, his aura continued to rise. The law of the great monarch had existed for an eternity, becoming the only existence in the heavens and earth. It would never disappear. Even the endless lightning tribulation couldn't make the law of the great monarch change its color. All the living beings in the miniature Fengqi world were annihilated. Those demons had nowhere to hide. All the way until the arrival of the fifth heavenly tribulation, all the living beings ended their lives. Under the impact of the lightning, under the pervasive heavenly might, they turned into ashes and turned into ruins. In front of the big screen of the immortal court, the scene was silent. Everyone was quietly watching everything that was happening on the screen. No one spoke because they didn't know what to say. They didn't know what words to use to express their shock at this moment. Very quickly, the sixth and seventh lightning tribulation descended. Half of the miniature Fengqi world disappeared and turned into chaos. The mountains turned into ashes, turned into nothingness and turned into air. If the miniature Fengqi world were to be treated as a world, then to this world, this moment was the end of the world. The real end of the world had arrived. This was a great destruction that could not be prevented from the destruction of this world. At this time, even if the last 3 heavenly tribulations did not descend, the miniature Fengqi world would be finished. It would not take long before it completely collapsed. However, at this moment, no one cared whether the miniature Fengqi world would be destroyed or not. Everyone's attention was on Jiang Chen. It was too shocking that he had persisted till the end of the first 6 heavenly tribulations. Jiang Chen's figure began to grow taller in everyone's heart, including Ling Likun. Demon, this is a true demon. He actually lasted until now. If it were me, I would have been hacked to death long ago. The great heavenly dragon tribulation destroys heaven and earth. To be able to last until the 7th wave is already something to be proud of. It's a pity that Jiang Chen has already suffered serious injuries. The next 3 heavenly tribulations will be incomparably terrifying. The heavenly might and destructive energy they will bring will be at least the sum of all the previous tribulations. I'm afraid Jiang Chen won't be able to last until the end. That's right. It would be such a pity if such a heaven-defying genius were to die under the heavenly tribulation. Everyone fell into intense shock. They admired Jiang Chen and were convinced by Jiang Chen. However, the following situation was the most dangerous. No matter how powerful Jiang Chen was, he might not be able to survive the heavenly dragon tribulation. Within the Sea of Thunder, Jiang Chen's dragon body had already suffered great damage. Blood sprayed out continuously, and it was an extremely gruesome sight to behold. The 7th wave of heavenly tribulation was much more terrifying than any of the previous ones. Just when everyone thought that this was the most dangerous moment and they were sweating for Jiang Chen was in ecstasy.
because the number of dragon marks in his body had reached 1.75 million. In other words, he was about to advance to the second grade great sovereign realm. The mad dragon roared. Jiangchen was completely submerged in the sea of thunder. He and the heavenly saint sword had completely disappeared from everyone's sight. Look, the seventh wave of heavenly tribulation is too terrifying. It has completely submerged Jiangchen and the sword. Looks like Jiangchen won't be able to withstand it any longer. Yeah, the heavenly dragon tribulation is too terrifying. I never thought that it would end in failure. It's not the final result yet. Who asked you to make such a conclusion? Everyone began to feel sorry for Jiangchen. After all, they saw with their own eyes that Jiangchen had already suffered great injuries. Now that he was completely submerged in the seventh wave of heavenly tribulation, it was almost impossible for him to survive. At this moment, a melodious dragon roar suddenly resounded from the sea of thunder. Everyone saw a white-robed youth walking out the moment the seventh wave of heavenly tribulation disappeared. Who else could that white-robed youth be other than Jiangchen? There wasn't a single wound on Jiangchen's body at this moment. His aura was extremely powerful. A blood dragon was circling around his body, dancing back and forth. Sword chi filled the air. At this moment, Jiangchen had successfully advanced to the second grade great sovereign realm with the help of the heavenly tribulation. Look, Jiangchen has advanced to the second grade great sovereign realm. Oh my god! This monstrous genius. Others would experience life and death during their heavenly tribulation, but this guy actually advanced to second grade great sovereign realm under the heavenly tribulation. Moreover, it's under the heavenly dragon great tribulation. How could this happen? Heaven defying, he's really going to defy the heavens. This unparalleled monster can no longer be judged by common sense. Look at that dragon beside him, it's actually formed from the sword from before. That's right. That's not a dragon, it's a sword. Now, even his combat sword has transformed into a dragon, undergoing the final transformation. This is simply a miracle. If I didn't see this with my own eyes, I wouldn't believe it even if you beat me to death. Everyone was shocked. Everyone fell into a deep state of shock. Advancing to the second grade great sovereign realm during the heavenly dragon great tribulation was undoubtedly an epic-making miracle. What happened today was destined to be recorded in the history of the immortal world and be praised by the future generations. Under the heavenly tribulation, Jiangchen waved his arm. The blood dragon immediately turned into a combat sword and appeared in his hand. The heavenly saint sword has undergone a complete transformation. From now on, you shall be called the heavenly dragon sword. You shall slash and slash together with me to eliminate powerful enemies. Jiangchen looked at the combat sword in his hand lovingly, as if it was his most beloved child. From the heavenly saint sword to the heavenly dragon sword, this combat sword had never been separated from him. Today it was going to step on the peak of this world and walk on its own Tao just like him. The divine might of the heavenly dragon sword was destined to become the number one sword in the world. Its fame was destined to surpass the immortal execution sword. Long. The eighth heavenly tribulation began to descend. There were only 3 heavenly dragon great tribulation left. Jiangchen raised his head and looked at the sky, revealing a faint smile at the corner of his mouth. Facing the last 3 heavenly tribulations that were enough to destroy everything, Jiangchen's face showed no signs of fear. I'll leave the rest to the Zulong Tower. Chapter 2036. With the birth of the heavenly dragon sword and his cultivation base reaching the second grade great sovereign, Jiangchen had obtained unprecedented benefits. The next 3 heavenly dragon great tribulations depended on the Zulong Tower. The last 3 great tribulations of the heavenly dragon great tribulations were extremely terrifying. If Jiangchen were to undergo the tribulations with his own body, even if he could withstand it, he would be seriously injured. Now that the immortal court was facing a great change, the barbarian world was also restless. No one knew when they would attack the immortal world. At this time, Jiangchen must ensure that he was in his best condition at all times. He couldn't give the enemy any chance. He knew that there were people who wanted to kill him even in the immortal court. The black sand was enough to prove everything. Therefore, it was impossible for Jiangchen not to use the Zulong Tower, a powerful cheating device. Moreover, he could gain great benefits from the absorption of the last 3 lightning tribulations by the Zulong Tower. Not only that, according to Jiangchen's estimation, the energy of the last 3 lightning tribulations could raise the Zulong Tower to the 66th floor. In that case, the secret of the 66th floor of the Zulong Tower would be revealed. Needless to say, it would bring unimaginable benefits to Jiangchen. Onglong. The 8th heavenly tribulation descended. The energy of each lightning dragon seemed to be many times stronger than the previous ones. Under such a powerful impact, the heavens and earth changed completely. In front of the big screen of the immortal court, countless people widened their eyes and found it difficult to breathe. Whether it was the people of Dragon Hall or Leopard Hall who wanted to kill Jiangchen, they all wanted to see what kind of means Jiangchen would use to deal with the 3 lightning tribulations. These 3 lightning tribulations could almost be called the tribulation of death. Just when everyone thought that Jiangchen was going to do his best to resist the lightning tribulations, a huge black hole suddenly appeared above Jiangchen's head. The instant the black hole appeared, the countless lightning dragons in the sky were all devoured by the black hole. Jiangchen stood under the black hole calmly. Not a single ray of lightning could fall on him, let alone cause any harm to him. My God! What's that? It actually absorbed the heavenly tribulation. That must be Jiangchen's magic treasure. That magic treasure can absorb heavenly tribulation. Isn't that a defiance of heaven? How is that possible? Impossible. This is absolutely impossible. Even the most powerful great emperor weapon can't absorb heaven's retribution. I'm afraid Jiangchen's magic treasure has already surpassed the world. How could this guy have such a powerful treasure? I don't believe he can absorb the last 3 lightning tribulations of the great heavenly dragon tribulation with just one treasure. There was no one who wasn't shocked. Everyone sank into a state of intense shock. This scene was too terrifying. Jiangchen, at the final juncture, displayed something that surpassed everyone's expectations. He forcefully absorbed the heavenly tribulation. This was a heaven-defying act. Under the lightning, Jiangchen had a faint smile on his face. His aura continued to rise and the number of dragon marks in his chi continued to increase. According to Jiangchen's estimation, the last 3 lightning tribulations would give him 30,000 dragon marks, making the total number of dragon marks in his body reach 1.78 million. In that case, his cultivation base would reach the peak of 2nd grade Great Sovereign Realm, only a step away from the 3rd grade Great Sovereign Realm. After absorbing such a powerful energy of the heavenly tribulation, the interior of the Zulong Tower erupted with a loud rumbling sound. The 62nd floor was completely condensed, followed by the 63rd floor. When the energy of the 8th lightning was completely absorbed, the 63rd floor was also completely condensed. There were 10,000 dragon marks in Jiangchen's body. Onglong. Another loud rumbling sound was heard. The 9th lightning tribulation descended. It was much more powerful than the 8th lightning tribulation. However, just like before, all the lightning dragons were absorbed by the black hole. The black hole seemed to be able to absorb everything in the heavens and earth. Countless people were frightened by this scene. If they didn't see it with their own eyes, they wouldn't be able to believe it, accept it, or even imagine it. As the 9th lightning tribulation ended, the 64th and 65th floor of the Zulong Tower were condensed. Another 10,000 dragon marks were added to Jiangchen's body. Next was the most powerful 10th lightning tribulation. The last lightning tribulation was undoubtedly the most terrifying one. The energy it contained was almost the sum of the previous 9 lightning tribulations. However, according to Jiangchen's estimation, it would be amazing if he could condense the 66th floor this time. Although the last lightning tribulation of the heavenly dragon tribulation was terrifying, the later the Zulong Tower was, the more difficult it was to condense, especially the 66th floor, which was extremely important. It required a large amount of energy. Jiangchen felt very fortunate in his heart. He felt fortunate that he had encountered the heavenly dragon Great Tribulation. Otherwise, it would be more difficult to condense the 66th level with his own ability. Where else could he find such a huge amount of energy to attack the 66th level? Perhaps only the last lightning tribulation of the heavenly dragon tribulation could completely condense the 66th floor of the Zulong Tower. Rumble, roar, thunder rumbled and the dragon roared. The last 1,000 lightning dragons poured down, carrying with them the energy to destroy everything. Countless eyes were fixed on it. They didn't believe that the treasure that Jiangchen secretly used could really absorb the last lightning tribulation after absorbing 2 lightning tribulations. However, nothing was impossible for a miracle creator like Jiangchen. The last 1,000 lightning dragons descended. Just like before, even though the formation was powerful enough to destroy the heavens and earth, it still couldn't cause any damage to Jiangchen. The giant black hole was like the mouth of the heavens and earth. All the energy in the heavens and earth could withstand it. Rumble, As expected, all the lightning dragons were swallowed by the black hole. Jianghu could feel that the violent lightning energy was wreaking havoc in the ancestral dragon pagoda. The 66th floor was soon lit up. Just like Jianghu's estimation, when all the energy contained in the last lightning tribulation was completely refined, the 66th floor of the Zulong Tower was completely lit up. Moreover, an ancient door appeared on the 66th floor. There must be something extremely precious behind the door. Jianghu wasn't in a hurry to open the door. It wasn't the right time now. He could feel that countless eyes were watching him. If he entered the Zulong Tower and disappeared at this time, it would be too suspicious. Today, his action of forcefully using the Zulong Tower to absorb the lightning tribulation had attracted a lot of attention. The exposure of this secret was not a good thing for him. You're tuning in to this Sword Dance in the Vast Sky YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.